Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Aishwarya Nagar. It is great to be back as the host of Mars 2025, organized in association with ACES Mumbai chapter. As you know, ACES is the largest network of security professionals across the globe. And speaking of globe, I can see people joining us today from 11, 12 different time zones. A big thank you to all of you for making the time to be here, even during odd hours on your end. It's truly wonderful to have you with us. Just a few announcements. For those interested, you can see today's discussions on our YouTube channel once uploaded. If you have any questions for the panelists, please put them in the Q&A box, which is separate from the chat box. Now, the agenda for the day. We will start with the opening keynote address by Lieutenant General Sudhir Sharma, Chairman, MitKat Advisory. This will be followed by a very special keynote address by Lieutenant General Vipul Shinghal, Ati Vishish Seva Medal, Sena Medal, Serving Deputy Chief of Integrated Defense Staff. Then a panel discussion on India Risk Outlook, moderated by Sam, co-founder and MD, MitKat Advisory. Aparna Gudad, our Director of Operations, will then unveil India Risk Outlook 2025. And Abhijit Kode, Product Manager, MitKat Advisory, give a demo of the open source risk intelligence platform, DataSurfer.ai. Then we have a panel discussion on trends in Intel security and loss prevention, moderated by Sushil Pradhan, ED and COO, MitKat Advisory. The final panel discussion for the day will delve on technology, chaired by Pawan Desai, CEO, MitKat. The summing up and closing remarks will be delivered by Sandeep Sinha, Director, Risk Consulting and Managed Services, MitKat Advisory, before we close the proceedings. With that, let's begin. It is my privilege to invite Lieutenant General Sudhir Sharma, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Yudh Seva Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal, Chairman, MitKat Advisory, to deliver the opening keynote. General Sharma has many laurels to his credit. The general has commanded the largest field force in the world. He modernized the logistics of 1.1 million strong Indian Army and was India's defense attaché in London at the turn of the century. General Sharma has been decorated for exceptional gallantry in the face of enemy and for distinguished service of the highest order to the nation, including on 2 occasions by the President of Republic of India. He is on the board of governors and advisors of global corporations and has successfully mentored several startups. I could go on and on, but we'll stop here. Over to you, Jen, to get us off to a flying start as always.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Thank you. And good morning, everybody. It's always a delight to start the year with the Mars MitKat Annual Symposium. Every year we start with this, and this year itself is great to be here. Happy New Year to all of you. The year gone by, the leap year, was one of great geopolitical turbulence, election super cycle. Nearly 60 countries went to the polls, and most of the incumbent people had to leave office because of discontent by the people. It was also a year of economic headwinds, and our climate concerns continued. You may all like to know that 2024 was the hottest year on record since climate data was collected. That was 1850. So you can see that climate is also an area of concern. But the defining year was of geopolitical turbulence. And I'll start with that to say that what happened and what shadows this geopolitical turbulence is going to cause or 2025. And I can say so with some thought that 2025 is also going to be a very defining year in terms of geopolitics, economics, climate, and technology. Now, to just have a quick broad brush review of what happened last year, Ukraine war continued, and it shall continue this year. It is my prediction that we are going for a ceasefire of the Ukraine war this year. And the ceasefire is being brought about not because of any other reasons, but Europe is tired of this war. They don't have the funds to fund it anymore. And with US being reluctant to support that, and Russia under a lot of sanctions, both sides will be forced to come to the table. But my feeling is that when the ceasefire approaches, like it has happened now, Ukraine has gone to Kursk region of Russia, Russia has gone into a region of Ukraine. There's going to be a lot of bitter fighting to create leverage so that when ceasefire comes, there is some talks. So I see a lot of battles taking place in Ukraine till we come to a ceasefire. And if that doesn't happen, then we're headed for something very big and things may go really out of hand and things. But we can reasonably guess that Ukraine war should come to an end. It means good for India. Possibly India will get involved in some way because it has done well to keep Zelensky and Putin both in their own side. So that's the good part of it. I won't talk much about Gaza because it's been flogged to the ground, but I think that too will come to an end. Ceasefire is on the cards. Hostages are going to get released.
Can't hear you,
And
sir.
can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody said can't hear me. Okay, so Gaza, as I said, don't want to flog Gaza too much, but it's also going to go towards the ceasefire. The impact on India is that Israel is going to be stronger again, and let's see how Iran feels weakened. And so Shia dominated Iran is going down, while Syria, with the HTS and Sunni people coming into power, is the ascendancy on that side. Now, Syria, I think, is the early days. We still don't know how it's going to end because the Kurds and the Alawite minority are still very active. So I think the end game is still to be seen in Syria. But suffice to say that Iran, Russia have lost out. Turkey has gained, and that's the way it has become in that region. Look, I like to come closer home and look at the events in Bangladesh. I think Bangladesh is in for some trouble now because the Republican government of Trump is not very fond of the Bangladesh regime, which is there in power, and therefore certain turbulence is likely to take place in that area. And India is also being cold-shouldering Bangladesh for some time. So I feel the area of weakness for Bangladesh in the coming year. Now, my concern is of Myanmar. It is neighboring India, and like we saw, the way the Syrian army collapsed in front of an army moving toward, same thing happened in Taliban, which happened that way. And I'm worried that one day the Arakan army decides to do a push into Myanmar, and whether the Myanmar Janta or Tamda as it's called will collapse. But that's a great concern for India because right on its border is this going to happen. So this is an area which you've got to watch out for. India has played its card well. I think the appointment of General VK Singh as governor of Mizoram and the Home Secretary going to Manipur is a part of the plan to make sure that that region, which is neighboring Myanmar, Bangladesh, is kept in some way as per the policies of the government of India. I feel that India has reached out to the Arakan army, which has taken the full Rakhine state and now controls the complete Bangladesh border, is a good part. India has also kept its bridges open with the government of Myanmar because it does not want an ethnic, diversification of Myanmar into many, many small states. And therefore, we would like to have a unified kind of Myanmar. Therefore, we're playing our cards very carefully, a bit dicey, but of area of concern. China, we all have heard a lot about the pullback and how things are taking place. The reason mainly is that I feel that a great American and Chinese decoupling is going to take place. Now, China has got its hands full with Taiwan, China Sea, and its battles with America to open a front with India. And therefore, I foresee a certain kind of thought taking place with India-China relations purely because of strategic interest of China demands so. This may be a temporary truce for a few years, but the end game is still to be seen. But I find it's going to take place in some form that there's going to be a little bit of cooling off of tempers between China and India purely because of China's involvement in other things in the area. Pakistan, I would like to say less about it, nothing much to worry about. Their hands are full with Taliban. And China seems to be little not so keen on getting involved in Pakistan as much as it was in the past, purely because of its own things happening domestically and its own economy in a bit of a turmoil. Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, Bhutan, little smaller players, both Sri Lanka and Maldives are cozying up to India because India is a big power and therefore they would like to be there. So geostrategically, that is what is the thing happening for 225. You can see the kind of role geopolitics is going to play next year. I'll just share with you quickly the calendar of Mr. Modi for the next 8 months. The Singapore PM comes in January 15th. Indonesian Prime Minister comes in 26th January as chief guest. Incidentally, Indonesia has joined BRICS, the biggest populous country, a Muslim country in the world, has also joined the BRICS. Prime Minister is going to visit France and Japan, possibly in March or April. Mr. Putin arrives in April, and so does the Chilean president, possibly April, May. BRICS is in July, where India will be there and go to Brazil. And SCO, and most likely Mr. Modi is going to go to China to attend the SCO summit. And the Quad takes place in September. G20 is in South Africa. ASEAN is in Malaysia in November, October. And the Africa Summit of India, Africa Summit is going to take place in Ethiopia, while the Prime Minister is also going to visit France and Japan. So you can see how important geostrategy or geopolitics role is playing. It's actually driving the geoeconomy of the world. And today, geopolitics is a mainstay And we have to, as a consulting company, keep watch of this, and if you have to do that. We talked about the election super cycle that has taken place. Lots of new changes in government came place, and most of them are in trouble. You start from France, you start from South Korea, you start from Germany, you start from Canada, UK. Most of these NATO countries are in trouble domestically because of the discontent by the people, because of the economic problems and these inflationary trends, and which is going to aggravate in the year to come. With Mr. Trump coming into power, how things are going to shape up, I don't know really. But I don't think India is going to affect it very much because Mr. Trump's tariffs do not involve certain areas of India. He's looking at core interests of steel being there and energy sector. So coming back to India per se, inside for India risk, I think I can see 4 or 5 good points which are looking forward for India. First is that economy, macroeconomy is looking good. No worries about that. Then I feel the AI and quantum thing is gathered momentum, especially with Mr. Nadella coming to India. And that is going to be a big driver of skills in India and hopefully give the economy a further boost. Semiconductor industry is picking up steam. Sorry, excuse me, please. And that bodes well for India. And I find that nuclear energy may become another game changer in the coming years to come with a deal being signed with USA. And with oil becoming, drilling by USA taking place, I think oil prices are going to come down, which is going to again help boost the Indian economy. So there's a good point to see of India in 2025. I can see 3 or 4 areas of concern. One is polarization taking place in Indian polity, which is becoming a little bit of a divide and a bit of concern. And unless that is slipped, there could be some rift taking place there. Secondly, I think the farm issue has not been resolved. Some of the farmers and the farm sector is not getting resolved, and that is going to be a big problem area which India has to watch for. And with farmer strike coming onto the forefront, it's not good optics, both domestically and internationally, and that's something which needs to be done about that, I think. Inflation, job creation, and the climate concerns are something which India will have to watch out for. And finally, cyber security is also an area of concern because that keeps on face coming up to that area. Now, these are some of the areas of concern and risk which going forward. Overall, I would say 2025 is going to be a good year for India because geostrategically is fairly secure. Economically is going forward. It has to watch out for a few fault lines. Otherwise, I feel it's going to be a fairly good year for India, but not so internationally. It's going to be a huge amount of turbulence taking place, and how this is going to affect India is going to be seen. But I think we are deft enough to handle that, and things are going to be well. I can go on pontificating for hours together, but Sam, in his infinite wisdom, has just given me a few minutes to start the overview. So I'll end by that, by wishing you all a very good day, and I love to hear deliberations of this summit, and look forward to hearing all the panel because lots of interesting things are planned for today. Good luck and good wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was awesome. Geopolitics of the world covered in 5 minutes as only, sir, as was expected. And please don't go away. We can see a lot of queries and comments in the Q&A box. Please feel free to answer them. Everyone, on to a very special speaker, a treat for us. A warm welcome to Lieutenant General Vipul Shinghal. To introduce him, may I now invite Sushil, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. And my name is Sushil Pradhan. I'm the Chief Operations Officer and Executive Director of MitKat. It is my honor and proud privilege to introduce Lieutenant General Vipul Shinghal, Ati Vishish Seva Medal, Sena Medal, the current Deputy Chief of the Integrated Defence Staff of India. He's a second-generation Army officer and an alumnus of the Doon School and National Defence Academy, and he was commissioned into the Armored Corps. He has been an instructor at the Indian Military Academy, the School of Armored Warfare, and the National Defence College. Besides having commanded an independent armored brigade, an armored division, and a strike corps in the desert sector, in his current assignment as Deputy Chief of the Integrated Defence Staff, he plays a key role in the currently ongoing initiatives of jointness, integration, and transformation of the Indian Army that all of you would have already heard about. For his distinguished service, he's also been awarded the Sena Medal and the Ati Vishish Seva Medal. Sir, over to you, and looking forward to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, I hope the screen can be seen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks, and my volume, etc. Okay. So, first of all, let me give a profuse thanks to Colonel S.M. Kumar, known as Samsir, and his team and MitKat for inviting me. And in this in the seminar, and to speak for about 15 minutes on leadership. In fact, people like us, are usually used to speaking in live audiences, and with audience reaction and so on. So this is one of the first for me. So it's interesting, and it will be great to interact and share my views basically on leadership in a risk-prone environment. Risk-prone environment in the Indian Army and the Indian Armed Forces is par for the course. We are constantly, in fact, in a risk-prone environment. The risks that are there in the case of the armed forces being terrain, enemy, the lack of communication, and so on and so forth. I think the corporate risks are on regulatory issues, change in the market. It could be a game-changing, disruptive technology coming in. So I think all of us face that same risk, and the newest risk is, I think, insider risk. Risk from inside the system itself, where somebody from your own setup tries to sabotage the thing, which is, we are seeing more and more of that. So having seen that, let me just start with a small story. This is long back. Back in the day, probably as a 35, 34-year-old, I was posted in a place called Batale, cold, -50 temperatures go down in the area of Siachen and all that. And as you can see, there are these small posts which are there, small outposts, and pretty treacherous terrain. And I was posted, of course, in staff there, and a part of our area was in the area of the Siachen Glacier. Most of you would have heard of it. And there was this young officer. So there was this young officer who was posted there, and he was in a post. Now, in these places, there are this small posts. You can see one on the top and one below. And as a routine, every 2-3 days, a link patrol of 3 to 4 people go from one post to other and link up at a point, basically to patrol the area and also to exchange the ration, etc. required or information. So a patrol had gone out from one Lieutenant Bhatta was there. He was all of 22 years old or 23 years old. He had sent out a patrol from post 1 to the link point to link up with the patrol coming from post 2. And about 2-3 hours had passed. They were supposed to come back in about 3 hours or so. And blizzard had started. It was, complete whiteout situation. Nothing could be seen. And now he had a decision to make, a risky decision. Whether he should send some more people after that, try and get those guys back. He doesn't know where they are. Or actually, the orders are very clear that in case they are not come back, it's no point sending more men after them, because you might end up with those men also not getting back. So that's the risk you have. But he, in his infinite wisdom and his, in his leadership, showing leadership quality, he picked up 2 more men from there. And he, from post 1, started walking towards this link point in the evening at about 3:34. It would turn dark by 5 o'clock. And sure enough, at a midway point, he found that there was a crevasse. A crevasse is opening in the glacier, very deep, and a boy had fallen inside. And since there were only 3 or 4 people in that patrol, they could not pull him out. So with more help, which he had taken with him, he himself decided to go with 2 more people. They managed to get everybody back to safety. It was a risky decision, and it paid off. So subsequently, I asked him, I said, Bhatta, what made you do this? I mean, you were taking a chance. They were already, thing. He said, sir, actually, I had made a plan. I knew that there was this crevasse in the middle, which I had done this many times, this route. And I also knew the capability of the boys who had gone and the capability of the boys I'm taking with me. And I had decided that in case I will go up to this point only, in case I find that I can, I get them, then fine, otherwise I would have got back. So I had a plan B in place. And also I had an intuition, a gut that possibly this may be the place where they could have got stuck. So I think that brings me to the point that that is about leading through risk. So let me just, since about 15 minutes are there, so let me just say that I think leading through risk, and when I'm saying this, it is for every level of leadership, and especially for senior leadership. The first thing is to anticipate risk, which means that you must be able to gather intelligence. You must stay on the learning curve. Like, for example, this particular seminar we are having, in which, all of us are trying to learn about risk. We just heard Jan Sharma speaking about it. So I think that's a very important part, that we should be able to constantly be learning about it. And I think in today's world, we need to seek expert advice. Nobody can be a genius or knowledge of everything. Therefore, if you seek expert advice, and it could be from anybody. The photograph is telling, it shows the bunch of boys and girls who won the World Chess Championship, and recently Kokesh, all of 18, also won. It shows that, the youngster lot have got of India, the youth have got great capacity. And it's important that those of us who are in senior leadership, especially in areas of technology and so on, consult them to know what are the risks of cybersecurity and so on. And once you do that, once you have anticipated the risk, then it is important to build resilience. Have a plan B, C, D. Just like Bhatta had the plan, he only planned to go up to a point and then come back. So I think that is the first part, anticipating the risk. And what Kennedy said was important. The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. You have got to anticipate the risk before it actually comes. Once it comes, then it is about management of the risk, which I'll talk about. Okay, the second part, I think, is preparing for the risk. So I think the next part is preparing. Now, what we believe in the armed forces is something called the mission command philosophy, which is a 2 up, 2 down philosophy, which means that the mission command philosophy, which is that we must, as leaders, constantly communicate our intent and vision to our command and to our company. Once that mission has been clearly communicated, then it is up to the subordinates to take the necessary risk to act within the vision. In a corporate setting, I can say that suppose the global or the national leader has given his vision, thereafter the regional leaders have an opportunity to take a risk as long as the mission is met. And the 2 up, 2 down philosophy we follow is that, any leadership or any person at any level should know the job 2 down and understand the intent 2 up, which means that a person who is a CEO must be able to understand down to 2 to 3 levels as to what does the job entail, and once he passes an order, how will it be executed. And the lower leadership must know above him as to how, what is the intent 2 up. This also empowers him to be, ready for the job when it comes. How does a leader do it? How you do it is that whenever given opportunity, as a leader, you must carry your team with you where you can, say for a meeting, even if he's a silent observer, and so on. Encourage participation in seminars like this so that he's prepared for senior leadership roles and also anticipate what the senior leadership wants. I think the third point, preparing for risk, I think more and more, as even Jared Sharma alluded to, it's a whole of nation approach. In any risky situation, any crisis situation, the government, the police, the NDRF, the various other agencies will have to get involved in mitigating that risk or sorting out the situation. Now, therefore, I think security, especially the security industry, there is a need to collaborate and constantly be in touch with the other organs of the state who are involved in this. And this has to be done during, I would say, peacetime, non-crisis time. Therefore, you are ready for it. And like you say, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. The last is protect your center of gravity. What is the center of gravity? Now, this is a concept of maneuver warfare, which says that you have to, any setup has to protect its center of gravity. In the case of armed forces, it may be a particular kind of weapon system or something, or a communication center. I think in the corporate world, it is necessary both for the security setup to identify its own center of gravity and also the center of gravity of what they're protecting. For example, I think in a particular case, it could be a data, it could be IPR, it could be brand reputation, it could be a particular market segment or a particular customer. So it is important that that is identified and that must be protected with all its might. So that in case of suppose there's a cybersecurity issue, at least the data remains protected. Again, a plan B and C, D to protect it. I think, and red teaming is a concept wherein you do wargaming, which means scenario building, and you put somebody in a red team who only plays the devil's advocate. And this is very important. The armed forces do it all the time. In any of our war games, we have somebody playing red land, yellow land, and so on, who give you the other side of the story. Now, this is important senior leadership to be able to listen to this as to what could go wrong. And that is a good way to prepare for this. I think the last thing is once once this is being done, anticipating, preparing, then is leading to that risk. So, like it says, "Mushkil waqt commando sakht." This is the old saying in our commando. That means now this is where the action happens. And I think the first and second point are important. We must be able to take decision with about 80% input. You must remember that my experience tells me that you can almost get 80% of the input required to take a decision in about 20% of the time. But to actually, if you start seeking another 20% of the input, it will take 80% more time and it will be too late. So a decision must be taken with about 80% inputs. When somebody comes to you for a decision, please give it. And remember one more thing, the more senior you are in the leadership hierarchy, the more risky decision you have to take. That is why in a hierarchy of leadership, it is a senior leadership who is expected to take more risky decisions. And that is why I think they are more stressed also. Because, when you are younger, you are taking in a company or even in the army, you are taking small decisions, and a little bit up and down. But as you become senior, it will become riskier. But that's par for the course. All the privileges, pay, perks you get is for that particular day when you take that decision. And you have to leverage your experience for this. Go by gut, go by experience, go by your knowledge, go the preparation you have carried out. I think also when risk happens or any situation happens, it is important to respond and not react. The word respond comes from responsibility. Let me share a story here. In the same place where we were there, what I was talking about earlier, there was this area of the mountains which I told you about. Now, what you see, the yellow line is the international border, and other side is the adversary, and this side is ours. And as you can see, the two pink lines, these are two patrols which from our own side have gone, and they are patrolling the border. And from the other side, the red line is also adversary. Now, one of our patrols there which is on the shorter line on the right side of your screen, they reported at night. I was posted there, and he said, "Sir, we are seeing some enemy movement or some adversary movement across. You can see those little red or pink men there, and we want to open fire because they have come on our side." Now, this is a major decision. So I thought, in my excitement, I was reacting. I was a young officer. I called up my boss, who was a senior guy, and I told him, "Sir, we have seen this, and we must quickly fire because otherwise they'll go back." Now, he had been briefed by me earlier in the evening on this whole patrolling. He said, "Young man, just check. I think, the other patrol from the other side may have strayed in that direction and may have gone there. And maybe, they may be our own people." I said, "Sir, not possible. They are in a different ridge and so on." He said, "No, fir bhi check karo. Make somebody fire a flare or something so we can see them." I was thinking to myself, he's going to delay it and we're going to lose the opportunity. However, lo and behold, we fired a flare, and this was our own patrol. The blue line is showing you, which had started in the wrong ridge and reached there. And if we had reacted like I had thought we should, we would have ended up blue on blue, probably injuring our own people. It was a great lesson for me, very young days, that you don't need to react. I think it's important in today's day and age that there will be situations which will require immediate action. There are situations which require some thinking, and that is what leadership should be, so that they are able to take that. Now, having said that, the last point, half the credit, double the blame. Gentlemen, as leadership, it is very important that when things go wrong, especially, that time we must stand up and be counted and take the blame. Because if you had to do something to correct it, you should have done it earlier. Now we don't pass it. And if there is something that good that happens, take half the credit. Let the credit go to the team. I think this really works. And the last point, last saying is important, that if you try to anticipate everything, you risk accomplishing nothing. The famous book by Guidance called On Strategy. So, in connected to the first point, don't try to anticipate everything. There will have to be decision with less of inputs, and thereafter you'll be able to possibly accomplish a lot. I think these are the three basic points I want to talk about. That is anticipating risk, preparing for it, and then leading through it. I think this is where I would, to summarize, in a risk-prone world, my playbook would be as I've given it here. Firstly, the understanding that I have limited knowledge, and therefore I will seek expert advice, I will collaborate, I will network. Secondly, I will communicate my vision, and thereafter I will allow the subordinates to work. I will take risks and decisions. I will thrive in ambiguity. And I will respond and not react. I will take half the credit and I will take double the blame. I think this is in my view, the way to function and way to sort of create an environment within your organization where they are happy taking risks because they know somebody has their back. And thereafter, moving forward, of course, while protecting your center of gravity, like I said. So I think I've taken my 15 minutes. This is one of my last slides. This is Saraswati. She is sitting down and it says that Adhyam se kami pramad mat karo. Never get tired of studying. She is the goddess of learning. And the goddess of learning is always sitting. The goddess of wealth, on the other hand, is Lakshmi. She's always standing. What does it mean? It means that, once Saraswati has come to you, learning has come to you, it will stay with you and it will help you. Coming to my first point, stay on the learning curve. Lakshmi can come and go. Don't hanker after Lakshmi, hanker after Saraswati. Lakshmi will come on its own, hopefully. And so with that, and I think the seminar is an extremely well conceived one. Congratulations to the team for allowing everybody to learn and study and be ready for the risks that are likely to confront us. I will finish here. This is some of the reading recommendations in this area. Most welcome to look at them. There's a very interesting book, the second one, Thinking in Bets. It's from a poker player who talks about how to navigate risk. And my details are there. I'll be happy to connect with anybody. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. And Jai Hind.
General, pure gold, 28 carat, super inspiring, no words to describe. Truly lots to take away for young professionals like me in the audience, and grateful for your presence. I think the General deserves a big round of applause. And some of my colleagues, sir, heard you in Mumbai and you left an indelible impression on them. And since then, I've been looking forward to sharing the frame with you. General, all I can say right now, we are really proud of the Indian Armed Forces. Thank you for your service to the nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And with that, we have to move on. And I can assure you, we have a lot of interesting stuff to come. The first panel discussion of the day is on India Risk Outlook for 2025. Promised to be as energy-packed as the moderator himself, Colonel Sam. Many of you know him already. Over to you, sir.
So thank you, Ash. Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. Thank you to the 425 of you on Zoom and many more on LinkedIn, YouTube and other social media. Love your gracious presence and thank you for your enthusiastic participation. Keep the comments flowing. General Vipul Shingal, absolutely awesome. No words to describe. I think Ash captured the emotions very well. A pure gold, 30 carat, I personally learned a lot. Thank you, General Sharma, for that outstanding keynote. Comprehensive overview of global and Indian risk landscape. Makes my job much easy. Sets the tone for our panel. Thank you, SS Mumbai, for your support. And we have Ashish here, Ashish Nangia on my panel, who is the ARVP, SS South Asia. So thank you, SS. Thank you, Ashish. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very high quality panel to discuss India Risk Outlook 2025. Esteemed speakers, in no particular order, Sumit Sharma, RSO India and Head GSC Group Security at Capgemini. Over 300,000 people in India. So doing a great job. Sumit, keep up the great work. Rudra Pratap Singh Chauhan, CBCP, Global Security, JP Morgan, world's largest financial institution. Ashish Nangia, Security and Safety Operations Leader at Asia Pacific and MENA for Intuit, one of the world's most respected organizations. Major Shipra Mishra, CPP, Regional Security Manager at South Asia for MasterCard. Many of you use it. Saurav Chatterjee, Resilience and Security Manager for Asia at McKinsey & Company. Major General Vikram Singh, Director at Controllers Data Center. And Ajit VC, Country Head Corporate Security at DBS Bank. So what a power-packed panel, and indeed my honor to share the frame with you. So ladies and gentlemen, we have about 45 minutes, slightly behind schedule, so we could utilize it as under. So I will take 3 minutes to provide an overview of the global risk landscape. In round one, I will ask you specific questions. Kindly keep the answers brief so that we can have a round two of Q&A and take 1 or 2 questions from the audience. And in the end, each of you gets 20 seconds for a soundbite. I hope that's fine. Should we go ahead? Great. I can see the nods. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me do the brave attempt of summarizing the global geopolitical and risk landscape. Most of it has been covered by Jan Sharma though. So ladies and gentlemen, the world is in a geopolitical recession. Global leadership is lacking. Global institutions are weak today. They were meant for a 1945 world, becoming irrelevant. Wars are continuing, power vacuums are expanding, and trade protectionism is undermining the fundamentals of global trading system. In 2024, as Jan Sharma said, voters voted out incumbents across the world, from UK to Japan. In the US, Dawn is back, much stronger, better prepared, and with an agenda that could reshape the world. India, Modi suffered some incumbent penalty in the parliamentary elections, seems to have made up in the state elections. India saw peaceful elections and transition to an elected government in Jammu and Kashmir. 2024 saw wars in Ukraine, economic headwinds, and political instability in the heartland of Europe, Germany and France. In the Middle East, Gaza is in ruins. Israel has emerged as the regional superpower. Axis of resistance is weak. Hamas and Hezbollah decimated. Assad gone, and Iran's vulnerability is exposed. Houthis continue to disrupt shipping. Terror and radicalization continues. Will 2025 finally see the end of wars in Europe and Middle East? I share Jan Sharma's optimism. Tensions across the Taiwan Strait and on the Korean Peninsula continue. South Korea had a failed martial law attempt and a tragic aviation accident a couple of weeks back. In South Asia, Sri Lankan economies recovered. Protests led to overthrow of Hasina in Bangladesh. Setback for India. Military is losing ground to rebels in Myanmar, and Pakistan faces economic and security challenges, and military continues to play an outsized role in politics. China continues to grapple with some of its problems: slowing economy, property sector woes, youth unemployment. Relations with India thawed. However, deep distrust still remains. AI is here with enormous opportunities and risks. Cybersecurity is disruptive and game-changing. Misinformation is traveling faster than information. On climate, more talk, less action. Drill, baby, drill. Regulators across the world are in overdrive. Over-regulation may be expensive for small businesses like us, may dampen innovation. Trump has promised to cut taxes and regulations. HNIs, corporations, and industries like financial services, fossil fuels, and crypto could benefit. Tariff, the most beautiful word, says Trump. So not only China, other countries with trade surplus with India could be in for a tough time. And Mexico, Canada, Greenland, Denmark, and Panama, they could all feel the heat. Will unmanaged US-China decoupling jitter the supply chains? I would look up to Rudra for an answer. Indian economy is growing 6.5% annually, fastest among major economies, will become the third largest by 2027. Our digital transformation has been impressive. We remain a favored destination for GCCs and GSOCs. Protests continue across the globe for a variety of reasons. Terrorism and radicalization continue to cause concern. CEOs are being targeted. Shooting of a CEO in New York, an attempt on a defense company CEO in Germany have sent corporations reviewing their executive security and duty of care. I could go on, but my 3 minutes is done. So today our focus will be on South Asia, India and the larger neighborhood. So to pick up major opportunities and risks likely to impact businesses across South Asia in 2025, let me turn to the expert panel, and thank you for your patience. So Ashish, let me start with you. Over the years, term risk has become pejorative, inherently negative connotations, but all risk professionals here in the frame understand it's equally about opportunities. So there's much happening in your city, Bangalore, So there is much cause for optimism. So what big opportunities do you see for Indian businesses in 2025? Because the world is entering two super cycles. One is the AI super revolution with the US leading the charge, and the climate transition and green transition where China has the lead. So all yours for an optimistic start to India Risk Outlook 2025. Ashish.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. And Colonel Sam, thank you for the opportunity. It's always such a learning experience to be part of the Mars Symposium. So I am very optimistic, and Bangalore is budding with enthusiasm. The talent that is available at this point in the ecosystem. AI is a word which is being used, you know, too much, I would say, and is creating an apprehension in everybody's mind, whereas it should not. It is an opportunity. It is an opportunity which India, with its pool of talent available right now, can leverage hugely. Advanced computing. You talk about all the startups which are here. It's home to Fortune 500 GCCs, like you said. Uh, Take an example of what AI can bring in. AI needs AI-specific servers. There is huge amount of manufacturing opportunity there. The data centers that will be required is going to be enormous. India at the moment produces almost about 20% of world data. Most of it is being stored across the seas. What if we are able to leverage this and bring the data, store it here? Another opportunity. Uh, the latest buzzword now is the service and hardware as a service instead of what was SaaS earlier, right? Software as a service. Now it's the hardware and the service which will be required. Uh, I think the opportunity in this space is huge. Let's go to green energy. India is for sure one of the countries which can look at green hydrogen and renewable energy, create opportunities of investment for across the country and South Asia as well, I would say. Uh, Talk about manufacturing and supply chain diversification, which is the need of the hour. We've seen in the recent past that countries have faced issues and are really looking at diversifying. Where else to go than India? Again, take the example of Apple. In the last year, in 2025, Apple has produced approximately 14 billion worth of iPhones in India. In 24-25, by the end of fiscal, they are planning on enhancing the volume to 14 to 17%. Again, an opportunity, demonstrated one. Let's go to strategic partnerships. With the way India is, take an example of Quad. Take the example of relationships that India is spearheading and consolidating with everyone around. What if Quad can get an economic flavor to it? It will really catapult the economic situation to a different level. Trump in America, talks about America first, and Prime Minister Modi talks about Atmanirbhar Bharat. How can we, and we will be, I'm optimistic, there 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 definitely is a possibility of creating mutually beneficial aspects of uh, enhancing our economic situation here. So that's what I wanted to share in the first half.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you for sticking to under 3 minutes. And what an optimistic note to start a panel discussion on risk. So, Ajit, would you like to build on that and continue the positive momentum?
Thank you, Colonel Sam, and thank you, MitKat and the team for having given me the opportunity. I think it's been well covered by the early speaker, but just to add few things, whereas digital transformation is definitely the place where we would be building upon, but to support the other kind of infrastructure we are going to look at would also be a major opportunity for India. Along with that comes the construction, the supply, and related services. Renewable energy, what we forgot of late is that the kind of e-vehicle or the support system we have created and used of late is going to build up in a major way in the coming years. You look at any e-commerce partner, you look at any hospitality partner, you look at any local commercial partner, the kind of usage of e-vehicles or e-support system that's going to really push the economy. But yes, it comes with a caveat of a support system of infrastructure, the charging points. And in the years to come, maybe in another 3 to 4 years' time, we may have to look at a choice of disposing of these batteries which have lived that life. That's also going to be a challenge, but there also lies an opportunity for us. Agritech is another place where I think India can make large and big headway because use of technology and AI for enhanced farming practices, increasing yields, optimizing the supply chain, precision agriculture, AI powered farming solution is a thing in future where we can see a lot of investment and opportunities ahead. And next is could be tourism and hospitality. There again, we see a lot of opportunities. Along with that, being part of a banking setup, I also feel banking and the financial industries would also open up a lot of opportunities for the world and India in specific. The cybersecurity domain, maintaining customer trust, data privacy regulations, these are places where we can actually put in our beans and see that we gain from these exposures. I think these are a few thoughts I have for as of now, Colonel Sam.
Thank you, Ajit. And thank you, Ashish and Ajit, for getting us off to a positive start. And then thank you for keeping to time. And I'm sure everyone else will emulate that. Okay, so Shipra, as I said, and as Jan Sharma said, 2024 was a challenging year. Hot wars in Europe and Middle East, electoral defeats for governments, overthrow of regimes, trade protectionism, protests, supply chain disruptions, AI, cybersecurity, misinformation, climate, and environmental risks. Big list. What top 2 to 3 risks do you foresee for businesses across the globe in 2025?
So first of all, am I audible?
Yes.
So first of all, thank you so much for this incredible opportunity. So as for me, the 2 top risks which I can foresee, number 1 is the cybersecurity threats. So as businesses continue to embrace digital transformation, the risk of cybersecurity grows. Cybersecurity threats will definitely, sir, intensify in 2025, especially as more businesses adopt to cloud-based infrastructure and the AI-driven tools. Quantum computing is definitely expected to add a new layer of complexity to cybersecurity. So companies are likely to face more sophisticated cyber threats, including the ransomware attacks, the data breaches, and increasingly advanced AI-driven attacks. So stricter regulations around data privacy, example GDPR, will also increase the legal risks associated with data handling. So businesses definitely will need to stay ahead of this technological evolution by investing in next generation cybersecurity solutions and ensuring that the teams are trained in the latest threat detection techniques. The second one, sir, which I foresee is the supply chain disruption will come to be one of the major risks in 2025, influenced by a combination of, as the other panelists mentioned, geopolitical instability, the climate change, the technological vulnerabilities, economic fluctuations, and the labor market dynamics. So companies that are proactive in investing in resilience, adopting a digital tool, different tools, and diversifying their operations will be better positioned to navigate the challenges ahead. To conclude, I would say businesses should consider hedging their supply chains by seeking alternative suppliers and geographical diversification. Back to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Sharp and crisp. Rudra, the same question. What top 2 to 3 risks do you foresee for businesses across the globe? And I definitely want you to cover environmental risks because we just saw an earthquake in South Tibet, which reached Nepal and even North India. I mean, extreme weather is rising in frequency and lethality, and its impact is being exacerbated by poor urban infrastructure. So all yours, 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, sir, and good morning, everyone. And thanks for giving us an opportunity to be on this panel. I think one of the biggest risks of being the second speaker is that you don't have any points, to talk on. And Shipra has covered, some of the points which I had very well. But still, at the cost of reputation or maybe something more. And in fact, you also mentioned environmental risk, which I would have spoken about. But going from the list which you spoke and you gave, I would rate artificial intelligence as the topmost in my bucket of top 3 risks. And risk is a very broad, subject. So I limit my answers to very generic, points. When I say artificial intelligence, it's the risk of not knowing how it's going to impact. We all know that artificial intelligence is now being compared to, one of the inventions, some of the inventions in the past, like, steam engine, electricity, internet, computing. So it has its advantages, but the pace at which it is being developed in last 2 or 3 years is something which is still not known how it's going to impact the businesses, how it's going to transform the businesses, not only businesses, but also societies. So I would rate it at number 1 in next 2 to 3 years, short term. Also, skill sets. Now, the advantage which I think Ashish mentioned, it's going to create a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, it's a no-brainer to say that it's going to take away some jobs. But at the same time, no invention has reduced the number of jobs. It has created new jobs. So upskilling, and if there is a resistance to adopting technology, either by individuals or by organizations, considering the way the AI is transforming businesses, is one of the biggest risks. And we are seeing companies, organizations, and even individuals trying to adopt AI as fast as possible. The second big risk within AI, and Shipra covered that, is the lack of regulations. Since it's being developed so fast, I was reading some article in which one of the AI engineers mentioned that the expected change or transformation which they were expecting in 10 to 15 years, they are seeing it now. So even the engineers and the scientists, AI scientists, are quite surprised at how fast this is developing. Because of that, there is a lack of regulations, and regulators are in fact lagging behind. So AI is one. I think geopolitics is the second, which I will put in my list. And you've covered, everything where all the scenarios are happening. But the change in geopolitics from what we've been seeing in last 10, 15 years is probably it would have got triggered from the Ukraine war. Now we are seeing a very clear demarcation between East and West, and the so-called moving away from unipolarity to multipolarity. Emergence, in fact, decline of influence of one superpower, and emergence of multiple powers, few of them being superpowers, is definitely going to create some friction in economies. We will see probably, the statement which made by President-elect Trump yesterday on Gulf of Mexico name being changed, Denmark and Greenland. These are all indicated now, whether it's just a statement being made or these are some serious statements being made by the president-elect is unknown. In fact, the impact of geopolitics is as good as, predicting impact of geopolitics is something like predicting weather. So we don't know how it's going to do. But there's definitely going to be a shift in economies, new policies, trade wars, as you mentioned. And third, though it's number 3 in the list, is climate and environmental changes. Because why put it in number 3? Because we already are facing it. There's nothing unknown in it. You mentioned very extreme weathers, especially in Bangalore, Bombay. We've seen intensity of rainfall. We've been having rainfalls, but intensity of rainfalls has now increased. What we were seeing in 30 days, 45 days, it's happening in 10 days, 15 days, coupled with unplanned urbanization. So it's a short term. But if you look at long term, I think there is a clear pattern of changes in weather systems, We are seeing it in US. We are seeing it here in India. A couple of years back, I think there was a cyclone in Mumbai, which was first time Mumbai coastal area had seen a cyclone in the last 100 years. So these are the top three things. Otherwise, all the points which you mentioned in your opening remark are definitely a risk to be watched out for.
Thank you. So the president-elect wants Gulf of Mexico to be renamed as Gulf of America. And if what he refers to as 51st state of America, and if he wants whole of Greenland, that will make it. Sorry.
He's already shared some picture, the map on his tweet.
Yeah, so 22 million square kilometers compared to 17 million square kilometers of Russia. So that's already greater. So thank you. I think it's where our imagination stops, the imagination of political leaders starts these days. So thank you. General Vikram, thank you for waiting patiently. South Asia continues to be a region of immense promise, intense competition, and inherent fragility. Not my words, General Sudhir Sharma's. So how do you see geopolitical risk landscape evolving in South Asia in 2025? Potential opportunities, risks, and trends that you foresee that businesses should prepare for?
Thank you, Sam, sir. South Asia will definitely continue to be a region of immense promise, but also one with intense competition and possibly inherent fragility. Businesses operating in South Asia in 2025 are likely to face an interplay of geopolitical, socioeconomic, and environmental risks, alongside with significant opportunities. So the environment will require businesses to stay agile, responsive, and well-informed. Geopolitical risks, I think we've had a lot of words put in. So, coming down specifically to our region, India and China, we are looking to a good year, but probably, the inherent tensions will always continue. They're unlikely to die. So with both of the countries trying to get into regional influence, we are going to see a lot of rivalry, which could impact regional supply chains, which could, affect investment flows and technological collaborations. Also, countries like United States, China, and Russia are seeking engagement in South Asia, and with countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, they could find themselves balancing relationships between these global powers, which could also again lead to potential volatility. India, Pakistan continues military skirmishes, if any, could disrupt trade. China's BRI is bringing a lot of South Asia in its kitty, and that's where we need to be very wary of. And with companies should be aware that there could be a shift of balance of power with increased competition, trade restrictions coming in, or sanctions from the other global leaders. On the socioeconomic front, I think domestic instability. General Sharma had talked about it. Most of our countries, we are facing these issues, and we've gone through some recent elections. So these are issues which will continue to affect, business operations, regulatory changes, and maybe market conditions also. And things like income inequality, unemployment. These are issues which will continue to lead to social unrest or civil disturbances, again, directly affecting businesses. And if I talk of environmental changes, yes, we all know there are a lot of our South Asia is most prone to environmental changes, and water scarcity being one of them. Air pollution is going to be a major dampener because it is going to affect a lot of worker health, productivity, and a lot of environmental standards are going to come. Like if you remember in NCR, they stopped work for a few days because to reduce this air pollution. So things like this could make a lot of difference in the years to come, in the year 2025. Thank you.
So quick supplementary, you are a key player in data center. Essentially, that's a business of trust because we entrust our crown jewels to you. So what sector-specific risk do you anticipate, and how serious is the insider threat? I think 60 seconds if you can cover both.
See, we've got infrastructure vulnerability is one of the major issues because we are dependent on stable power, communication networks, and unreliable infrastructure, extreme weathers could risk the uptime factor. Power grids disruptions, these are issues which really bother us. cybersecurity threats, like Shipra was saying, is one of the major threats. We, as data centers, we face a lot of threat on that. Regulatory focus, now government is changing, like it was mentioned by one of the speakers, that data centers is the next big thing. So government is sort of bringing in some regulations in place related to strict data localization, and those kind of policies are coming. Talent is one thing which we feel is going to be is a challenge as of today. Insider threat, Samsung continues. I mean, like data theft, sabotage, espionage. These are things which are real, and we as data centers, we try and bring in the best systems that we can to prevent these kind of activities. Thank you.
Very quick one. We have about 440 people in the audience, and maybe about 140 of them are either doing a resettlement course or young professionals joining from universities. So question for them on their behalf. Do you see opportunities for professionals looking to build career in DC security, EHS, etc.?
Oh yes, most definitely, because data center security is a huge cyber and physical both is a huge ask, and we really are looking for specialization in these fields, and professionals with specialization and actually look forward to a lot of work. I can say about controllers data centers, my chairman has already on LinkedIn said the next 6 years he's going to be pumping in $2 billion in the data center market. So that's the kind of business we are looking at. Environmental health safety professionals, one of the key factors of data centers, they will find a lot of work. Compliance specialists, regulatory specialists, and not to forget facility management, corporate services. These people are, we've got a plethora of opportunities. You just need to bring yourself to the best and come and join us.
Wonderful. A lot of folks from IIM Mumbai keep approaching me, and Sushil, who is sitting next to me, and we'll redirect them to you and all the folks in the data center space. I think you guys are employing maximum number of people. So thank you. Sumit.
Thank you.
Thank you for patiently waiting. You just released an excellent document on India Risk Outlook. I've had the privilege of reading it. Can you summarize what you see as the top 5 risks? I was quite impressed with the document, I must tell you, but I'll leave it to you to uncover it.
Thank you, Colonel Sam. It's always a privilege to be among such learned fellow co-panelists, and to be kind of moderated and then excited and incited by you to bring out the best of all of us. So thank you for that. Straight away moving to the top 5 risks which have been identified in the India Risk Review, which we have released for ourselves. Before I go there, I'll quickly cover the 5 influencing factors which we considered as our major influences before writing those risks. The first one definitely was geopolitics, and I call it geopolitical games, where India's quest for not accepting a junior partner status in the global realignment continues to shape its external perceptions. So the second one influencing factor was climate change, where we realized that the international community remained non-committal to climate change justice at the COP29, thereby creating more opportunities for people who work in the space of sustainability. The other influencing factor was cybercrime, where we realized that, which has been covered by so many speakers in so many ways, but then the point which I realized and the team realized was that the salience of AI and the nature of wealth flows in a digitally connected world is the real cybercrime opportunity and space, and the threats both for individuals and businesses which are going to target India in 2025. This also gives me a sense that foreign state interests in retaining superiority in cutting-edge technologies may lead to use of non-state actors and threat vectors launching attacks in India, given the promise of plausible deniability which it offers. So you will have coalitions working on it for you, against you actually. Then, of course, democratic dance. We are the largest democracy, always in elections. And then the major legislations, the bold ones, which are going to get tabled in the next session of the parliament, will keep us busy in Q1 and Q2. And then, of course, the inclining influence of India, the evolving look east and scenarios of the foreign policy, with competing and conflicting US and Chinese interests in the Indian subcontinent, as well as the European interest and the ocean region. This will test the national security and paradigms of India's foreign policies in its attempt to actually consolidate its hold on its home and backyard interests. So covert intelligence, real-time security for business protocols, and balanced situational response will remain a necessity for new markets, or new market watchers in India, as well as the growth for business in India. So with these being as the influencing factors, the top 5 risks which came out they're in no order, they're just the top 5. And mind you, Colonel Sam, we have reduced the risk outlook time frame to a quarter now. We don't anymore do an annual because it's a turbulent year. And that's where we have cybersecurity, civic unrest, natural disasters and the impact on critical infra, extremism, and geopolitical fallouts as our key 5 risks. They are in no order, but I will start definitely with the most interesting one, which is the geopolitical fallout. In 2025, which has been covered by General Sharma and so many other speakers, what we have basically seen is that the governments which are coming into power all over the world after the elections are the ones on the promise of national interest first. And there is a cycle of existing governments in China, India, Russia, Turkey, Australia, which have been able to really demonstrate the stability, the political stability and its benefit in the past so many years. Now, what is likely to happen with the new US administration coming along? There is a realignment and it is going to be parallel to the trajectory of policies adopted by the incoming US administration, along with the counterbalancing acts which are going to be taken by India, EU, Russia, and China. So this is going to create, there will be, one clarity which is coming out is that the attempts seeking India's unquestioned allegiance are less likely to succeed given India's newly realized counterbalancing capabilities. Resultantly, reputational attacks on Indian businesses involved in strategic sectors, especially like shipping ports, will continue with greater vigor in 2025 Q1. Fresh attempts to discredit Indian intelligence agencies by linking them to the Russians and challenging the rule of law and freedom of speech. This is also going to continue in 2025. Simmering threats to sanction businesses linked with Russian oil, continuation of Hawks bomb threats, internal and external political protests, involving contestations of Act East policy, CAA, NRC, climate change, etc. This is going to lead to downgrades of various social and business indices for India as a trend in Q1 2025, most likely. Trends notwithstanding, the risks are least likely to impact most of the businesses and assets of interest of businesses, global businesses in India, is what we feel, especially in the cities where most of the businesses are.
Can I just quickly interrupt you? I would request you to keep the other 4 very short, because I also want to ask you a supplementary on opportunities. So
absolutely. So
okay.
I think the other 4
60 seconds for risks and maybe another 60 for opportunities. Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
So, so the other risk which we see, which all of us are going to really be involved in, is natural disasters and the critical infrastructure. You already have the La Nina phenomena going on, and that is what is going to get us all involved. So what it will have as an impact is that the critical infrastructure for cities of interest, where most of the businesses are run in India, are going to again be put through a stress test. The other one which we picked up was cybersecurity. And in cybersecurity, what we have realized is that a lot of speakers did mention this. The real growth, the pace of growth of AI and IT as such has actually been possible because there has been the least regulation in this industry world over. And this no regulation situation today is reaching a point where guardrails have to be put into place. So while the balance between what you call as innovation versus regulation is something which is going to come up as a question, but then the use of deepfake technologies and such like technology is going to increase. The promise underscores it's a bigger challenge for India because you also have a lot of part of your business which is still not digital. So they will be the most vulnerable. So we have to be prepared more around that. Civic unrest, what we are anticipating in Q1 is a mix of minor and major protests. For minor protests, states like Karnataka, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh is where we are expecting minor protests in Q1. And for major unrest, we are expecting it in Delhi, of course, elections up there, Maharashtra, Maratha, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Kerala, and West Bengal. And then let me come to the last most important, extremism, covered very well by most of, I think it was covered well by General Sharma. The extremism which is reaching up here, I'm only going to talk about the violent part of it, but then extremism is ideological as well. So the violent part of it, we will see increase of activity both in north and northeast, as well as north. But the north is going to remain controlled with security agencies adopting a renewed safety protocol, which General Sharma described how a better actioning of intelligence extremism related threats are assessed to be minimal in the cities of interest where most of the business happens in India. Back to you, Colonel Sam.
So thank you very much. Great mix of strategic insights and tactical predictions. It has to be really brave these days to, to predict and hold on to your convictions. Oh, Saurav, your organization is the largest repository of knowledge and wisdom on planet Earth. So it's been very unfair of me to keep you waiting for so long. And I know your views are your own. So cybersecurity has been a theme brought out by multiple speakers from Shipra to Sumit and everybody else mentioned. It's disruptive and game-changing. The threat landscape is diverse, diffused, amorphous, evolving, pretty complicated, deepfakes getting sophisticated, misinformation traveling rather fast. So how serious is the cybersecurity threat? And then will advent of AI turbocharge the landscape?
First of all, Happy New Year to everyone and to you, Colonel Sam, and a deep gratitude for yourself and the MitKat team. I am painfully aware that there are people far more qualified, not just in the panel, but in the audience, much better qualified than me to speak on all of this. But I will give my 2 cents. I think cyber security combined with fraud is possibly, in my book, the biggest risk for us. And it is in alignment with global trends. As I said, I'm not in the crystal ball gazing department, but if I look at, let's say, just the data of frequency versus impact over the last couple of years, cyber attacks, insider threat, data breaches, extreme weather, etc. Obviously, the highest cyber attacks. Just the data from the RBI for last year had 21,367 crores just in the first half of last year. That's what, $2.5 billion and an 8-fold jump from last year. That gives us a trend if you would like that. I think agree with the rest as well. It's not just cyber, but it's extreme weather combined with really iffy infrastructure in our expanding cities, and the issues with regard to IT telecom failures, which happen because of these disasters. I'll shut up now because I know we're short on time. Back to you, Kalsan.
So thank you. Grateful. We're done with round 1, so slightly behind schedule. If each of you promise to stick your thing to 60 seconds, then we can do a round 2 quickly. Is that fine? And Saurav, I'll start with you. So you said a lot of things. What does it mean for our profession as security professionals?
I will try and stick to 60 seconds, Colonel Sam. I think what it means for us is still that humans are still the weak link. I think one thing that I did here, is AI is going to exacerbate But on the other hand, looking at cybersecurity threats and trends over the last 20 years, I've seen these technologies helping the attacker and helping the defender as well. See what firewalls were capable of 15, 20 years back and what they're capable of now, and we see that the power game in both attack and defense continue hand in hand. I think for us as traditional safety and security professionals, making sure that awareness of our colleagues, that's important. Training will remain key, and training more. Listen to the youngest colleagues that you've got. See the movies that they're seeing. Get examples from there. I have a favorite example of Lalo Salamanca from the Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul series, right? I use that to explain what a breach would mean. More about that later maybe. But I think cyber and people security, etc., will need to come together. The connective tissue will need to deepen to deal with these threats in the future. Back to you, Kalsam.
Thank you. Ashish, how can businesses in South Asia play a collective role in reshaping a positive global narrative on risk and resilience?
My thought is, first and foremost, is cooperation. Regional cooperation of a completely different scale that we've not seen before is where we need to move. And I am optimistic that India can do that, sharing best practices, coordinating responses to crises, etc. We've seen in the past that India has the ability, capability, and the appetite of doing that. Whether we look at COVID or we look at how we helped Sri Lanka during the economic crisis, etc. So I think bringing everybody together and that regional cooperation is a must. Sustainability. We've all heard about climate change. I think South Asia can collectively really contribute towards global efforts to address climate change. Innovation and adaptability. Innovation is happening, but is the appetite or the change taking capability alive? I think we need to encourage everybody in South Asia to be able to adapt quicker. Technology is, of course, there, but if we don't adopt in time, we are not going to gain the advantage, so to speak. India can definitely lead the way. I think we've spoken about infrastructural woes, and we may not be as good as far as physical infrastructure is concerned. I face that in Bangalore all the time. But the point is, we have one of the best digital infrastructure, and we can really the countries in South Asia can emulate that from us, and we can help them.
And we can be more generous, if I can just add.
Absolutely. And emerging sectors, I think collectively, looking at green technology, I spoke about earlier, digital services and healthcare. These three, if are the critical three that South Asian countries can really focus on, it can change the global narrative.
Thank you. Ajit, friendshoring, US-China decoupling, we listen a lot. What opportunities and risks? 45 seconds.
Okay, coming to opportunities, first is we can be the manufacturing hub. Large, relatively low-cost workforce we have, and the Make in India initiative. Second is we can be the technology and service provider. We've got a strong IT sector, as most speakers have come out with, and with lead in increased demand for software development, data, and IT, we can be that. Increased export, we have the infrastructure moving into India, the manufacturing hub, the IT, we can be one of the major export hubs. This will lead to foreign investment, the fourth point. And fifth would be we can be aligned with new strategic partnership.
Wonderful.
Risk, geopolitical instability, we all brought out. Competition, we'll have more players coming in like Vietnam, Mexico, and other Southeast Asian countries. There is infrastructure gap, both in terms of physical and IT, and also various things like power shortages, others. Fourth is regulatory hurdles. We still face the regulatory hurdles at many points of time. be it the bureaucracy or the inconsistency in political and other forays. Land acquisition is another problem which has always been a major struggle out here. It has been a bait for a lot of people, both politically and otherwise, to get a higher rate or maybe to disrupt a investment. This has been used very well. Skill gap. With such large amount of manufacturing hub or IT setup coming in, we still be short of skills. We need to start working towards it. Economic dependence, the last point I would say, wherein if you put all the egg in one basket, well, we are in for trouble. We have to spread it out. But one point I would definitely like to bring out is the attack on India's reputation, which Sumit brought out so beautifully. That is something we should be very, very mindful of. Thank you.
So let's come to our job. Shipra and Rudra. First to you, Shipra. As security and risk leaders, what do we do to help our organizations navigate this risk landscape effectively? Shipra.
So security and risk leaders play a very crucial role. And given the increasingly complex threat landscape, which everybody mentioned, their responsibility, that is the security and risk leaders, is more critical than ever. So just a few measures, sir. Number one would be proactive security risk assessment and management. So if you look at the banks and the financial institutions, they conduct frequent exhaustive risk assessments due to their high exposure to cyber threats, sir, and regulatory scrutiny. And these organizations also leverage the advanced AI and machine learning models to predict and mitigate risks. And thereby they enhance their cybersecurity resilience. The second I would say is to develop a strong cybersecurity posture and culture. And this they can do by strengthening the organization's cybersecurity strategy and ensuring that the protocols are in place to prevent and respond to attacks. Respond is the word which I picked up from the panelists. So this, of course, involves the network security, the data encryption, employee training, multi-factor authentication, and of course, the regular pen testing. If you look at the tech companies, sir, they invest heavily in cybersecurity measures, including continuous monitoring, zero trust architecture, and employee security training, which are vital given their vast data networks and the digital infrastructure. Another important part is, sir, the implementation of resilient supply chain management. Now, if you look at the automobile sector, the companies have worked to mitigate risks by diversifying their supply chains and developing a very strong relationship with the key suppliers. So if we go ahead, of course, developing crisis response plans and simulations, very important is to focus on regulatory compliance and governance by staying ahead of regulatory changes for implementing a robust compliance framework. Not to mention, goes unsaid, that leveraging technology and data analytics, so artificial intelligence that can enhance decision-making, predictive analysis, and of course, to provide this real-time threat intelligence that we get. Over and above, continuous monitoring and adaptation, and promoting a risk-aware culture. That's all from my side, sir, considering the time limit.
Brilliant, thank you. Rudra, same question. How do we mitigate as risks to our businesses and supply chains?
So again, you put the same question to me being the second speaker. So I would put creativity as one of the skills amongst the risk managers. Because right now, most of us traditionally follow, the model of looking at the past to see the future. All the risks which we've now mentioned in last 35, 40 minutes is actually known. But 10 months or maybe a year back, none of us were talking about CrowdStrike. Maybe 5 years or 6 years back, none of us spoke about COVID, that could also hit us. So I think creativity is a very important skill which us risk managers should now build in. I read some quote somewhere. In fact, it was in a book which my boss just posted on review of it. My boss posted on LinkedIn. It said, risk is often not a failure of analysis. The risk is a failure of imagination. So imagine what is possible. We generally work on impact and probability. So the philosophy we need to follow is, if it's possible and makes sense to plan for it, we should be planning for it. And then obviously have your plans, do your drills, collaborate, and so on and so forth.
Awesome. Sumit, last 60 seconds on 3 top opportunities.
Sam sir, I think the best part about risks is that they bring opportunities. So let me start with the risks which I mentioned for Q1. The first one is the geopolitical fallout. What we are going to see is the NATO decoupling, which is going to happen, is going to create a lot of opportunities in the aerospace and the defense industry for India, China, Turkey, France. And there's a huge amount of collaboration opportunities which are going to go through. You already see the state of most of the stocks of startups which are dealing with defense, how they are continuing to stay resilient even in a turbulent time. So that's a great opportunity out there. The second part was around the opportunities which the cyber crime and the cyber threats are going to create for us. I think there's what I want to tell everybody here is that since the world is depending on India largely to solve the gap between the implementation of the AI and the hype between it in the next 1 year, the solutions to those threats which will come out of those solutions is also sitting somewhere with you, right? So we need to get imaginative around that and try and find that cybersecurity professionals among us move to that level, strategic level, rather than focus on the operational level, which more or less now can be done by machines. Coming on to civic unrest and extremism, if you ask me, it's creating a huge opportunity for risk professionals as well as travel professionals to make sure that within your business, you're able to secure these lines and these areas of business, because these are also the emerging markets. So I think that's where you are. And the last one,
ahead for us. Yeah.
The last one, which is the natural disasters and sustainability, the message it is giving to you is that anything you are building new has to have an element of sustainability into it, has to have an element of human-centric leadership into it, and the duty of care into it. So as security professionals, I think we all are well qualified to imagine and find solutions which are going to give that to the world.
Thanks. And General Vikram, I know if you've still not boarded your aircraft, then if you would like to take a word or two about OSINT platforms. So thank you. I really appreciate,
No, OSINT platforms are the next best thing that's going to happen, because, the kind of data that we deal with and the kind of threats that are there. So I'll give you a few pointers in interest of time, like cybersecurity risk detection is one area where we can get a lot of help from OSINT platforms, geopolitical risk monitoring, climate and environment risks, their monitoring. And you can, regulatory compliance and rigorous. At the moment, every state has its own systems, market and competitive intelligence. All these issues are easily, brought together by having a robust artificial intelligence-based OSINT platform. So we are looking forward to that. In fact, we have invested in we have created a company called 8-Bit within Controller's data center, which is actually working on how AI can facilitate cloud and data center operations. Thank you, Samsa.
Thank you. If everybody can restrict to 15 seconds, we can have a quick sound bite. Shipra.
So India's risk outlook, as per me, for 2025 is a mixture of opportunities and challenges. So the nation's ability to effectively manage its geopolitical relationships, the internal socio-economic challenges, and environmental risks will determine how it fares. So proactive policy measures, reform initiatives, and strategic international partnerships will definitely play a crucial role in navigating these risks and ensuring stability and growth for the country. Thank you, sir. Back to you.
Thank you, Ashish.
I'll restrict myself to just businesses, and what I feel is anticipation and moving with velocity, adopting the change that is, across the horizon. And the quote that General Vipul mentioned, that repair the roof when the sun is shining, I think we have to, all businesses need to disrupt themselves and change that quote to say that remodel your roofs when the sun is shining. Before you are pushed against the wall, make the changes required right now with velocity. Thank you.
Brilliant. General Vikram?
Sam, sir, as we look at the future South Asia, it is going to be a lot of promise, but fragile. But it gives us a lot of opportunities. As a data center, we stand at the crossroad of this transformation with security, resilience, and innovation as our key pillars. So it is time to embrace change, sharpen expertise in areas like security and EHS, and prepare to navigate the dynamic forces that will drive the next wave of growth. Thank you so much.
Rudra?
So I'll repeat myself. Risk is the failure of imagination.
Brilliant.
So
Saurav?
be creative. So be creative.
Indeed, yeah. I think just looking at a lot of comments and questions as well about training awareness. One thing that I've learned is focus the training and the awareness on not the causes, but the effects. You will not be able to predict the black swan events. We were not able to predict COVID. We were not able to predict a lot of different things. But if you focus on how it affects you, what do you produce? What would cause you hurt? Right. So focus on what, how to alleviate your hurt rather than what is causing the hurt, because there are multiple things that can cause the same hurt. When you focus exercises on that, that's when your resilience will be far, far stronger.
Ajit?
Two simple things, Samsung. One is embrace adaptability and agility above all else. And secondly, I would say prioritize digital transformation that empowers employees, not just automate tasks. That's all from my side.
Brilliant. Sumit?
Sam, sir, I think for me, 2025 is about hyper collaboration, which has to increase among us as professionals. Second is move with boldness. The third is increase the team spirit within the security profession, build and move ahead with trust. And as far as 2025 is concerned, I would like to borrow a phrase from General Vipul, which is 2025 is about leading through risk.
So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we come to the end of panel 1. So 2025, my take, promises to be a year of relative stability, lots of optimism, steady economic growth, multidimensional opportunities, and an array of risks, geopolitical, socio-economic, and environmental. These will demand deft handling. Our CEOs will look up to us, security and risk professionals, to help us tide over the risks on the horizon and beyond. And US MNCs will continue to augment their India presence with GCCs and GSOCs, big opportunities in data centers, big opportunities in crisis, because leaders emerge during crisis, because when times are good, even donkeys look like horses. So it takes crisis for leaders to shine. So our time to shine. So once again, thank you, esteemed speakers, and big thank you to the 413 of you who are still sticking with us. Thank you for your enthusiastic participation. Keep the comments and questions flowing. Looking forward to rest of the day. IRR 2025, refresh DataSurfer.ai, open source intelligence platform, 2 fascinating panels on security and technology, featuring subject matter experts, and final wrap up by Sandeep. So back to you, Ash. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, panelists. A great discussion on risks in 2025. Overall, a fascinating couple of hours, a masterclass in leadership by General Vipul Shingal, General Sharma decoding what the world will look like in 2025, and panel 1 building on that, featuring very distinguished speakers and much more coming up. Continuing the event, who better to take this forward than Aparna Gudar, Director Operations MitKat Advisory, and my former boss and forever mentor, who will unveil the industry acknowledged India risk outlook. After that, we have a presentation of MitKat's proprietary AI-driven risk intelligence platform, DataSurfer.ai, by our in-house innovator, Abhijit Kode, Product Manager. Aparna and Abhijit, over to you.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya. You are doing wonderful, and thank you so much for the kind introduction. You will always be part of my team. And to everyone attending Mars 2025, thank you so much. Wish you all a very, very happy new year. We hope you are having a wonderful time as you get insights. After the powerful keynotes by General Sharma and General Vipul Shingal, and a trailblazing panel discussion on India Risk Outlook 2025 featuring absolutely wonderful industry stalwarts. It gives me immense pleasure and it is an honor to launch the India Risk Outlook 2025. Here we go. After this short video, now let's have a look at the India Risk Outlook 2025. The IRO 2025 is an annual publication by MitKat that has been in existence since the past 13 years. The report starts with the chairman's message, followed by critical insights like major risks in 2025, matrix of key risks, state-wise risk ratings, and evolution of risks in the form of simple infographics that are easy to comprehend and document. The report further provides a comprehensive overview across 8 broad risk categories, including geopolitical, political, extremism, environment and health, socio-economic and socio-political, infrastructure, economic, and of course technological, which has been discussed extensively in the previous panel. Each of the risk categories delve into major developments of 2024 and their outlook for the year 2025. Astute analysis has been complemented by succinct infographics to ensure that the entire document is an easy read. The soft copy is very easy to navigate. So basically, you can use both the footer as well as the left panel to directly navigate to the topic of your interest. In this iteration of IRO 2025, we have also featured industry experts and their opinion on key risk and their likely impact on India in 2025. Moving forward, I will take this opportunity to also launch the India Risk Map 2025. Leveraging on over a decade of industry expertise and an extensive database of thousands of data points, IRM 2025 provides risk ratings for over 750 districts across all states and union territories in India. It is a handy tool for security experts and for business decision makers. Each state has been assessed under 6 comprehensive risk parameters, including extremism, natural hazards, health and diseases, infrastructure, crime, and civil disturbance, and rated across a 5-level matrix from very high to very low. The short video highlights the risk level for all states along with their associated key risks. Here we go. The video is playing on the screen, and this video will also shortly be available on our LinkedIn handle. So you can view it there as well. Both the documents are available for download with the link available in the chat box. You can download your copy right now. We hope you find the reports insightful. These reports are our small contribution to the security industry as trusted partners of over 425 clients. I would also like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank all the young minds behind creating these reports. You've been working relentlessly. So whether it is the entire team at MitKat, the analyst team, as well as the design team, the marketing team, the tech team, everybody who has contributed to it, you have a long way ahead. You have a bright future ahead. Now, with this, thank you so much to all clients. Thank you so much to all the contributors. I would like to hand it over to my colleague and the product manager of DataSurfer, Abhijit Kode, for a quick yet comprehensive demo of our very own OSINT critical event monitoring and predictive risk intelligence platform, DataSurfer. Over to you, Abhijit.
Thank you, Aparna, and thank you, Aishwarya, for a kind introduction. I'll quickly share my screen. Just let me know when it is visible. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay, so I am thrilled to introduce our own, risk intelligence platform, DataSurfer. It is AI-driven and human assisted, designed to safeguard people, assets, and business operations by providing real-time actionable insights on global operational threats. So our journey began as today security and intelligence experts need to make well-informed decisions as threat landscape is continuously evolving. And our objective with this platform or with this product is to anticipate risk, understand how that impacts business, and help these security leaders to mitigate that risk and to build a resilience. Now, the key features of this platform includes first one, it is meant for critical event monitoring. So you can perform the threat intelligence monitoring for all the global events related to these 12 distinct operational risk categories, and it delivers all the alerts tailor-made to every user need. Second is it provides the customizable dashboards so every user can have access to these dashboards like geopolitical alerts, which provides all the alerts from your subscribed geography to monitor the region. Second is proximity alerts where you can map your assets across the geography and monitor those assets specifically. And third one is a specifically custom made dashboard to monitor any specific event of interest. So this is how a customizable dashboards can be created to monitor region, asset, or any particular event. Third one is like the providing of proactive risk mitigation. It provides the access to informative alert that provides the heads up in a real time. It is followed by the intelligence alert, which is provided with the detailed analysis. Now here you also get an access to geofence with the editable impact radius. So you can geofence any event and also assign an asset type. So with the help of geofencing and asset type categorization, it allows predictive actionable action rather than the reactive response. So this is how a detailed alert card looks, which provides the description, background on any event, impact, how it is going to impact business operations. Sometimes top level recommendations are added, and we also maintain all the sources to maintain a complete transparency. Now, moving on to the other features, it also provides you with the data analytics features. Now, using the past data, DataSurfer provides trend analysis, which can be used for risk prediction and which can help in informed decision making. Now, in screen, I have taken example of Bangladesh. I want to do the vulnerability assessment for civil disturbance in Bangladesh for last 2 weeks. Here you can see the entire trend. All the events are listed here, which can be downloaded into an Excel format. You can see which regions reported the highest amount of civil disturbance. You can see the exact, the concentration risk with the heat map. You can see which are the exact events which are being reported. So the protests, riots, rally, and strike are the main civil disturbance related events which are being reported from Bangladesh. And along with this, it also provides the impact level and the risk level distribution. So this is how the risk analytics feature can be used. Second, another important feature is the availability of all the risk reports and the advisories. Our team of analysts is working around the clock 24 by 7, 365 days to create and provide these reports. All these reports are available on one click in the PDF format, which can be downloaded, and the circulation of that these reports in the PDF format is very easily available. So coming to the actual value that DataSurfer adds is the first one is the risk reduction. That it helps in minimize the financial and operational losses with the proactive insights. Second is the efficiency. It saves time and resources with the automated monitoring and the provision of analytics, and the scalability and the integration. The DataSurfer integrates very seamlessly with other systems like mass notification, supply chain, and it is scalable for the global operations. So in conclusion, DataSurfer empowers organizations to stay resilient in the uncertain world by combining AI-driven insights with the human intelligence. So to know the details about the product, the link is provided in the chat box. I urge you to book a demo for the product or connect with Kunal in person. Thank you all. Back to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you, Aparna and Abhijit. Once again, to download the India Risk Outlook, you can click the link in the chat box. For more information on DataSurfer or to book a demo of the tool, you can contact Kunal, or I will also leave my contact details in the chat box. Please feel free to get in touch. We now move on to the second panel discussion of the day on trends in intel security and loss prevention, chaired by an excellent orator and needing no introduction, Sushil Pradhan, ED and COO, MitKat Advisory. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya. And I'll request all my panelists to please switch on their cameras. And when you speak, please don't forget to switch on your microphones.
Sir, this is Gaurav here.
Yes, I see
I'm
all
not
of
able
you.
to switch on my camera. It says the
Yeah,
admin.
same, Sushil, same with me. I think the host has to disable it.
I'll just request my colleague Kunal to switch on your.
Yeah, it's done. It's done.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. I can see you now, Gaurav, and I can see you, Rakesh. Thank you, everyone, for joining and being a part of this discussion. A very warm welcome to all of you, and especially Ian, for whom it's still early morning. Thanks, Ian, for waking up so early and making time for us. Always a pleasure to hear from all of you. So I'm going to take up from where the first panel left off, where we heard about the various concerns and the risks and opportunities of the coming year 2025, especially as it translates to us in India and in South Asia. And now we are going to move on to the nuts and bolts of it. And as security professionals, how are we going to be ready to handle all these challenges and risks? We heard about the macro level issues. What should the country be aware of? What as businesses we should be mindful of? Now it's time to focus on the actual mechanics of how we are going to deal with it. And for that, I have an amazing panel of security professionals and risk professionals on the panel. I do not have too much to contribute from my side on this as an introduction. So I will jump into introducing the speakers so that you are all familiar and you understand their areas of expertise and experience. So first in line, we have Ian, who's a security manager for EMEA of Black & Which. He's a career soldier of the British Army and the South African Defence Forces with multiple tenures in high-intensity combat zones. He's not a stranger to India, having spent many years here and in this part of the world, and he's been around in the region, hence a part of this panel always. Thanks, Ian, for being here every year with us for this important review. Then we have Rakesh, who's the Senior Vice President of Barclays, an experienced security professional, former Army officer with over 30 years of cross-functional experience in organizations such as Reliance, Adani Ports, Royal Dutch Shell, Deutsche Bank, Fidelity Investments, BNY Mellon. The names of the companies itself spells out the range of experience that he has. Thanks, Rakesh, for being here with us. Then we have Arun, Arun Prakash is the head of corporate security for Microsoft India and for South Asia. After having been in the Indian Army, he's been associated with various organizations, including Infosys, Flipkart, and LinkedIn. Thank you, Arun, for joining us. We have Debashish Ghosh, who's the Director of Physical Security and Safety for Carillon Global Solutions, with over 20 years of experience in corporate security, business continuity, health and safety, crisis management in companies like Mahindra & Mahindra, Accenture, and Larsen & Toubro. He also has half a decade in the Indian Army behind him. Shekhar Atri, Sena Medal, is the head of India Security Services for Pratt & Whitney. He's got over 2 decades of diverse experience, from a distinguished career in the Indian Army Special Forces to leading the India Security Services and Pratt & Whitney. Thank you, Shekhar, for being part of our review. We have next Chirag Thakkar, who's the head of corporate security for Southwest Asia Pacific for GSK. Experienced Army officer who's turned risk and security professional with more than 21 years in various companies like Reliance Retail, Pinkerton, Alvarez and Marshall. Then he moved to the pharmaceutical industry with Sanofi, a French pharmaceutical company, and he's currently with the British pharmaceutical company GSK. Gaurav, we have, is the VP and head of global workplace trust and safety for Urban Company. He manages this portfolio across 54 cities in India, Singapore, and UAE. Prior to his experience in Urban Company, he was with CBRE India, and he's also proudly served in the Indian Army's Gorkha Rifles. Welcome, Gaurav, to the forum. Last but not the least, we have John Paul Manikam, who's a corporate security leader and subject matter expert, GSOC and threat intelligence. He has over 19 years of experience in leading organizations such as Cognizant, Fidelity Investments, FL Schmidt, Inotics, and Cognizant. Additionally, he served as the private security chair for the Overseas Security Advisory Council, or the OSAC, of the US Consulate in Chennai. Very warm welcome to all of you. And without any delay, I'm going to jump straight into the questions and the discussions. So let me start with you, Ian. Firstly, okay, let's take Debashish. Debashish, we heard about the macro level threats and the country level threats and the risks and the opportunities to our country. But as a security professional who operates in an industry which is primarily based in Indian cities, what do you think are the key traditional threats faced by Indian cities, such as crime, terrorism, natural disasters? How have they evolved in the recent years? How are they different from what was there in the past? And how are Indian cities preparing to deal with all of these, including things like climate-related threats and everything else that was spoken about in the previous panel?
Sure. Thank you, Sushil sir, for having me here in this panel discussion. The Indian security, the landscape has kind of evolved over the years. It's been constantly evolving. What we've seen, what we see today is very different than what it was about a decade or a decade and a half back. I mean, if we go back in the years of early of 2020s, 2001 till 2010, and before it was a time of the 9/11 and 26/11, where the terrorism was supposed to be at the forefront, and you had the series of bomb blasts. Over the years, what we see today, the security landscape has evolved, and today what we see is around evolving technology as one of the key areas which we see, and how does AI impact our business operations. The second and foremost is around the cybersecurity threat, which many of our panelists have talked about in the previous session, and also on the climate change related threats. And the third one is obviously on the changing regulations. Now, traditionally, what we've seen, the climate change is actually coming up as number one risk at all. And we've seen how the natural disasters in terms of cyclone, the frequencies have increased. How does a heavy rainfall impacts our cities to a large extent? Now, over the years, what traditionally used to happen and what is happening now, I would call it as a great improvement from a government standpoint, in terms of our ability to predict some of these natural disasters have improved to a large extent. But in terms of our cities' infrastructure to handle some of these natural disasters is still wanting. And we see even a small amount of rain kind of brings the entire city down. Last year in summers, we saw water crisis in Bangalore, leading to a very serious situation. In fact, a water crisis in Bangalore has a far-reaching consequences in terms of escalating the two neighboring states in terms of their water crisis, what they see. So climate change is just not impacting one isolated event, but it has larger impacts overall. And that's the change what we see in today's aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely bang on, Debashish. And since you experienced most of it over the last couple of years, you've seen how the threats have evolved. In fact, that brings me to a very interesting incident where somebody told me about how they were moving around in Bangalore, and there was one person who was driving a car, and he saw somebody walking on the sidewalk, and he says, look, let me give you a lift in my car. So the guy who's walking says, I'm sorry, I'm in a bit of a hurry, so I would rather walk. So that's how the traffic congestion builds up when there's heavy rainfall and flooding in the cities, because they are not really geared up to deal with the kind of climate changes which the infrastructure is not able to support. Similarly, Chirag, I'd like to ask you that, now the shift to the hybrid work models has actually amplified concerns around insider threats and information leaks. It's absolutely Picking up from what Debashish also mentioned about cyber crime and cyber attacks. So what strategies can businesses implement to detect and mitigate insider threats in India while maintaining employee trust?
Thank you, Colonel Pradhan. Before I start, just a standard disclaimer. Today, whatever I say is in my personal capacity and should not be attributed to my current employer, which is GSK. So, like rightly said, the shift to hybrid models in India has indeed brought significant challenges in detecting and mitigating insider risk. Now, the extent to which corporations in India tackle insider risk varies greatly. Some organizations, as we'll see, will go above and beyond, but others will have a very minimal provisions to tackle it. In my view, what some of the strategies that businesses can implement is firstly to have strong security training. You need to conduct frequent and engaging security awareness training programs for all employees, including remote workers. And in these trainings, you need to focus on hybrid specific risks, something like unsecured home networks, personal device usage, and the importance of data protection while working remotely. I know many companies, including mine, do a lot of phishing simulation testing. So, do penetration testing and check if your employees are able to respond to these potential threats. Then, obviously, there are robust access control measures that we need. Now, one thing which I see increasingly nowadays is this least privilege principle. So, you need to implement this least privilege principle where you're granting employees only access to necessary information to perform their job roles. Second aspect is what we can do is enforce multi-factor authentication for all critical systems and applications to enhance our account security. And regularly, we need to review these accesses to make sure that these remain aligned with the employee's current roles and job responsibilities. Now, to enhance this, all this is easier said than done. So, there are some advanced threat detection technologies now available. I'll name a couple of them. One is the Security Information and Event Management System called the SIEM. Once you implement a SIEM, this system can collect and analyze security logs from various sources, including network data devices, servers, and endpoints. A simple example I'll give you is it might detect an unusual login, suspicious file transfers, or any anomalies in the network traffic, which can prompt you or put a red flag. The other technology available today is the User and Entity Behavior Analytics called the UEBA. You can utilize UEBA solutions to identify and flag anomalies, user behavior that may indicate malicious activity. Again, something similar, an employee accessing customer accounts that do not typically interact with, or a significant increase in file transfer from an employee to an external location. These can be some red flags which can help detect and analyze these anomalies faster and eventually prevent an insider threat. The other thing what organizations can do is deploy these data loss prevention solutions, again, to monitor and prevent unauthorized movement of sensitive data both within and outside the organization. Then we have this DPDR coming in, DPDPR. So data classification is very important, where we classify data based on sensitivity levels and accordingly put some tech controls in for sensitive data. Data encryption and secure data sharing. When you need to share with a third party or even internally, you just share a link and don't send everything on email or a SharePoint. So that's something that we can implement. And lastly, I think, have an open communication and build trust. You must communicate with your employee about security risks and the measures that are being taken to mitigate them. Encourage employees to give feedback, because sometimes we sit in our shell and don't understand that maybe the security training is not working. And lastly, which many organizations are doing, and especially me coming from healthcare, promote a healthy work life balance and address employee concerns to build trust and reduce the likelihood of internal threats. So, I think overall, to summarize, in India, by implementing some of these strategies, we can effectively detect and mitigate insider risks while maintaining employee trust, and specifically in the hybrid work environment. Thanks, sir. That's for me.
Thank you so much. Very well covered, Chirag, and very comprehensively covered. And the reason why we are including such vast and diverse topics in this particular discussion is because today security and risk practitioners are taking on the responsibility of so many varied fields within the security itself, whether it is physical security, whether it is travel risk mitigation, whether it is cyber security, whether it is electronic security, whether it's protective security, and what have you. So hence you will find such a wide range of questions and a wide range of topics being covered in this particular panel. And thank you so much, Chirag, for focusing on the aspects of insider risks, as especially with relation to data and cyber security. We will come back to you later for more subsequently. But in the meantime, I would like to again jump to another topic, and that is for Shekhar, where we've seen that India has become a growing business destination, and obviously with that comes increase in security concerns. And there are lots of increased operations where companies are now establishing their GSOCs or regional SOCs, that is a security operations center. And they are migrating their SOCs and GSOCs to India for various reasons, which we'll talk about separately. But what do you feel are some of the opportunities and challenges that CSOs today, the chief security officers, face in setting up and establishing effective SOCs?
Thanks a lot, first of all, Team MitKat, Sushil sir, Sam sir, and Pawan sir for having me here. It's the second year continuing, and it's always great to be on this panel. Disclaimer from my side as well, views are personal, should not be attributed to my employer, Pratt & Whitney. Getting on with the SOCs, I'm assuming here that the value chain mapping by the business has been done and the budget allocated, and now it's the execution phase. Means I've had numerous opportunities in the service in the army, as well as when I joined Pratt & Whitney, it was again setting up shop here. What I found as a challenge was that for security, the base of security is the security triangle. So when you look at the triangle, people, processes, and technology, I found that technology was not very difficult to come by. We got world-class technology available. You have to be ready to pay for it, and it's available at the drop of the hat. People and processes are where we found there are gaps existing. We all agree that, especially setting up SOCs, availability of cybersecurity professionals globally is a challenge. In India, it is slightly less because we've got on paper, everybody might look good, but as far as the practical experiences are concerned, we may have to subsequently focus on training or retraining and retesting their capabilities. We can't take somebody's word of mouth for whatever the capabilities are, because whatever we are executing on ground is real and the threat is real. So that is the first thing. Second, processes, global processes, the global corporations, when I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the Indian corporations. Processes are globally applicable, but the Indian circumstances are slightly different. We all understand the risks are different, and the kind of assumptions people make for setting up those processes as far as policies are concerned, we may have to tweak them a little. So that as a CSO, I will have to get a buy-in from the business for tweaking, because the entire SOC for that particular enterprise, the policies will also have to change, especially when it comes to regulations and compliances. Like DPDP Act and the rules are out and they're in stage of implementation or discussion as of now. So the local compliances might end up getting the global policies changed. So that's another challenge that one has. And the third thing is digital threats are increasing by the day vis-a-vis physical threats. And digitization in India has opened up another target globally for ransomware attacks and DDoS attacks and so on and so forth. I've covered it. I just put out a LinkedIn post earlier in the year. So put out in detail, since the time is limited. Last is the budget. As far as global corporations are concerned, budget is never an issue. But when it comes to implementation in India, we try to show our efficiency in cutting down the budget or trying to economize it as much as possible. I say it is like putting a newborn baby on a diet, so which may or may not be conducive. Initially, we should set up the best of the processes and the best of the infrastructure we can, and the best of the manpower. Subsequently, once the business team is up and running, maybe we can look at economizing our efforts. And obviously, since the value chain mapping is already there, we can further improve upon it. But setting up a new shop definitely needs to look into the budgeting part of things. We should be more open about it rather than try and cut corners everywhere. Opportunities are immense if we look at the vision as a leader who sees down the line, but implementation at tactical level. So that is one thing that one can always take care of. Secondly, manpower is available, identification, and we might have to, like I said, slightly work upon it. Scalability is there. Since it's cheap to operate in India, we can always, from an regional SOC, we can always upgrade it to a global SOC. Time zone wise, we are placed in a very sweet spot. We can cover the entire eastern side of the world as well as the western side of world without much disruption to our daily timelines or routines or coverage. So that we can do. Global government initiatives like Digital India and Make in India are also helping us a lot. So emerging markets, especially in the Middle East, Africa, they have close by 2-3 hours of time zone difference. So that's where, again, we can support very, very positively on that front as well. So that's a bit about how I look at SOCs giving me opportunities and challenges. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shekhar. You really covered a lot of ground in these 3-4 minutes. And I would really like to call out 2-3 things which you mentioned. Is one about the compliances, and very often in the setting up of GSOCs, local policies and local regulations are going to be driving the changes to global protocols, not necessarily global regulations, but global protocols that companies follow within themselves. The second is, which you mentioned about the correct selection of people and building scalability. Yes, we have a huge advantage and a huge opportunity here where we can use lower budgets and good time zone coverage to cover as much of the globe as possible, set up these GSOCs in the follow the sun model and show that value to your organization. I know this was not part of the scheduled sequence of questions, but I have 2 people on the panel with me who are really experienced in having set up these GSOCs. So I'll just request, to give a quick one. And been there. Rakesh, over to you quickly.
Thank you so much, Sushil. I hope I'm audible, and thank you, Sam sir, for having me here. Very interesting topic, and I heard both the previous speakers, and I completely agree. This is what Sushil, when it comes to setting up the Joint Operation Center or GSOC or RSOC, I think some of the specific needs when we sit together and on the basis of experiences, have we really identified the right risk? Have you identified the right key assets or system for the organization which are critical for our organization? Accordingly, are we able to tailor-made our intelligence need? Because when you talk about JOC, everybody thinks about, okay, it's a one-stop shop where we have ready-made information, intelligence, it comes to them and they just pass it on. But that is actually not really the case. It is a dissemination of a center where we get a lot of information from different parts, unlike maybe a decade or a decade and a half before. These days, a plethora of information is floating around, intelligence keep floating around. So I think JOC is the center there. When we set it up, we need to identify the right people, right training. Of course, most important is use of technologies, the TIPs, like the threat intelligence platforms. How do we really get the right information in terms of early warning or threat detection, use of AI? There are several factors in. I do not want to really specify because I'm sure there will be more question on it. Yeah, thank you.
Very useful because, like I said, you've done it. And John, over to you for a quick comment on the same topic.
Yes, sir. Hi, everyone. I think GSOC, SOCs, whatever intelligence fusion centers or whatever you want to build out or whatever you want to bring it into your organization, it has to be a business solution, not a security solution. That's how you sell it. That's how you tell the leadership that how this is going to add value to the overall business operations, the global footprint, not just serving physical security, serving cybersecurity, or serving the corporate security leaders. Right. So once you do that, and that needs a lot of research, and I've done through it during my time in J6. So you do a research and ensure that you understand the capabilities, understand the tools requirements, understand the talent pool that you need to deliver what your organization and leadership wants. Then you will be able to deliver the exact expectations from the business leaders, because it's always business and risk competing with each other, dollars versus risk, right? So it is very important for us to have that ROI demonstrated before even setting up and then delivering it.
No, absolutely, very well brought out. And I think everyone needs to take that home, that GSOCs or RSOCs or whatever you call them, they have to today be a business solution, not a security solution. And then you will really not be fighting for budgets, because then everyone understands the business value of these. If we have time, I'll request you, John, to give a case study on this, small case study in a minute or so, but not now, towards the end of the session. Thanks a lot. And now again, I'm going to jump track to another very important aspect of the concerns of a security leader, especially somebody who looks after India. So Ian, in your previous role, you were responsible for also looking after management for your people coming to India and traveling around. And living and traveling in India for expats always remains a risk and an anxiety-prone experience for them, especially due to the unfamiliar environment. How do you think corporates in India are extending their duty of care responsibility to look after such expat employees and visitors? And what more can they do going forward? Your words will be really useful to everyone.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be on here again. First of all, understanding the reason why foreigners come to India is to tap into that the vibrancy, the brain power, the brain horsepower, the innovation, the scale at which India can do things. And we benefit tremendously by bringing our people to India and immersing them into Indian culture, Indian workspace. So it means that we need to attend to the legal obligations of our duty of care to our professionals going abroad, and also their families and associated people going out with them. And that also touches on the ethical responsibilities too. So I spend quite a bit of time on the pre-deployment, because I do genuinely believe that if you prepare a person for a foreign assignment, it helps prepare them for the environment that they're going into. And I hear a lot of my my co-presenters talking about needing to innovate and remain adaptable. Yes, that's all very, very, very important. But there are also certain things that remain constant, and the pre-deployment is one of those skills that I have found that is absolutely necessary in the foundation of an expat's trip abroad. And what are things that I'm looking at in that foundation is making them familiar with a robust security framework. So things like what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable, cultural briefs, conduct, what somebody is likely to face in the country that they're going to. So many of these are also pertinent for just about any country you travel to in the world. What do they do in the event of a medical emergency? Me taking my time, or my colleagues taking our time to go and research what the medical facilities are like, who will assist that professional to getting medical assistance, will a translator be needed, so on and so on. Medication, what types of prescriptions do they have? So I do go into a lot of detail, and although I don't ask them specific medical questions, I do think that it's important to give them an understanding of a prescription back in the UK or the United States might differ ever so slightly to medication that you're buying in India. Therefore, bring as much of that medication with you as possible. What about mental health issues? Somebody might become isolated because, or self-isolate. It's nothing to do with COVID, but because they're afraid of going out. They might be intimidated by by the immense traffic. I look at a city like Mumbai and think, wow, this is this is a very unfamiliar commuting and driving terrain for somebody from another country. A very good example is the use of the horn. I know certain parts of the United States, if you use your horn, you're inviting somebody for a gunfight. Whereas in India, it's a form of radar. I'm coming left, I'm coming right, I'm coming, buddy. Hello, and it's not to be taken as an offensive weapon. By telling somebody this, it then prepares them for that environment when they come into it. What about technology? We have access to a tremendous amount of travel apps and information. I also spend the time familiarizing them with it and also explaining the reason why something like a tracking app can assist them tremendously. So a tracking app is used by the GSOC to bring assistance to that professional in a timely manner. It's not used to track them or police them and sit there taking notes every time they go and watch the cricket or nip out of the office for an extended lunch. That's not the purpose of the technology. The purpose of the technology is to, if at all possible, prevent that individual from getting into trouble. Prevention is better than cure, but then also to assist them if there is trouble approaching. Then also checking in with the individual or with the family frequently, because quite often you'll have the spouse which is very much engaged in working in the office, but then the spouse is left at home with very little to do. So by engaging with them and giving them hints on what they can do, what they can become involved in, provides that balance in the home where when the partner returns home at a long day's work, he or she is not getting bombarded with, well, I haven't been able to go out all day, I don't know where to shop, where are the children going to go to school. So by attending to those things makes the expats stay in the country a heck of a lot easier. But then also, and I'm going to wrap up on this point, is understanding why the individual is in the country or why the family is. They are there at the behest of the company. I had a situation in the November before Russia invaded Ukraine, where an expat and his family were reluctant to leave Ukraine. An American national and his family, and we saw what was happening. We saw Russian troops on exercise, massing on the border. It's a textbook invasion doctrine straight out of their playbook. But this individual was reluctant to evacuate out of the country because his landlord knew somebody who frequently had dinner with somebody else, a friend of a friend of a friend, who said, nah, the Russians are not going to invade. So go with what you know. You are the security professional. Follow through with it, but then also lay out the risks to your to your superiors and say, well, these are our courses of action. This is what might happen. This is what is likely to happen. And these are my 3 recommended courses of action. Let them take it from there. I've held the microphone for too long. Colonel Sushil, back to you.
Thank you, Ian. Very, very useful insights from the perspective of handling expats, their travel and their stay in India. Just one quick supplementary question, and this is something which I know will benefit a lot of security leaders on the panel and in the audience, because they probably encounter this a lot, where due to various perceptions, the multinational organizations, especially their headquarters, which are based in the West, they perceive India as a high risk country. And when they reach out to Indian security partners or their local agencies in India, they say, oh, we want executive protection, a guy with a weapon, so that he's able to take care of our expats. How do security leaders, how do they handle this kind of diktat and say that, look, India really doesn't need that level of security unless you're going into a high conflict zone or something? How do they work this out?
That's a very good question. By I find sometimes my role as an interpreter. I help interpret what's happening on the ground, what the realities are, to our professionals who have probably never ever traveled to that part of the world. So I've over the years with Black and Veatch, I think I've built up a tremendous a reputation with our leaders for being able to tell it like it is, stating facts and not inventing problems helps your management make decisions. So by being able to tell them that certain things are not part of the protocol in India. So, yeah, for example, carrying a firearm is absolutely unnecessary and will be guaranteed to get you into trouble. You can mitigate the risk in another way. But yes, speaking to the people around you is a way that you can then mitigate that risk. For example, I would put together a tour of Mumbai and take them to a lot of the tourist attractions. But I was doing that in order for me to control the risk, not for them to then take the risk themselves. So by having a driver that I knew, I also gave him a script and also a bit of a document that they could read in the car. But then Gopal also became very familiar with them, and he himself turned into a bit of a tour guide. By them doing the tour with Gopal, reduced the risk tremendously.
Thank you. I think that's very useful. I think we need to capitalize on local expertise, and global security leaders need to listen carefully to what their Indian colleagues are saying about the actual interpretation of the risks on the ground. Thanks, Ian. We'll come back to you for more if there's time. And now again, I'm going to jump to another very interesting and important topic. And this is also echoing what some General Shingal said initially, you know, how the organization needs to collaborate with governments and partners. So Gaurav, you are in an organization which has pan-India presence, 54 cities in so many countries, and you need to have your people on the ground forever. How do you manage this collaboration with the government, private sector? How do you partner with local governments, local law enforcements? How can you add security to your people by employing technology, infrastructure, and this means? So we would love to hear that.
Thank you, sir. First, I'd actually like to start by complimenting MitKat for this well-timed event. Perhaps the first working week of the year, we're all getting back to our offices, getting into huddles with our teams, and really drawing out the roadmap for the year ahead, the risk roadmap. So yeah, I think just the right time to get great insights from industry leaders and what's trending, what's coming up. So we guys can also kind of pick a lot of stuff from here and go back to our teams and discuss. So thanks for this well-timed event. So I've been working with Urban Company for around 6 years. So and have been part of a lot of policy making conversation and government engagement. Gig economy as we know it, like there are around 8 million gig workers in India, and this is going to grow 3x in the next 5 years. We'll have around 25 million gig workers. And just to put some trend in context, last year, this time when we were having this Mars event, how many of us actually thought that we need rations in 10 minutes? Perhaps many thought I'll go to the canteen once in a month, pick my ration. If not that, walk into a DMart, pick the next round. But I don't need ration in 10 minutes. Back 1 year, 12 months, I think everybody of us would have had a touch point with Blinkit, Zepto, 10 minutes delivery. So that's how quick trends are. In 1 year, they have literally changed how consumers order grocery. And that's how quickly technology is going to change consumer behavior, and therefore this significant growth in e-commerce, quick commerce is like the talk of town. uh, Urban Company also operates in the same space, and we basically have our collaboration with government in two key buckets. One is the tactical collaboration, and the other is the more strategic collaboration. I'll first cover the tactical one, which is like uh, Pradhan sir mentioned. We have so many people, boots on ground, lakhs of deliveries happening every day, people on the road, going to doorsteps, entering homes. So there is a lot of engagement required with law enforcement, traffic police, to ensure that our delivery agents are following the rules of the land. Like there is a continuous debate. I'm sure everybody would have read that on the pressure this 8 minute, 10 minute delivery is putting on delivery agents, and they're breaking laws. And just to meet that 8 minute bar, I think this is work in progress. The companies providing this have just about kind of figured out how this operation is going to run, and the fact that it is in everybody's priority list. There is no intent to break law and deliver services. Every company in this space wants to be compliant. Zomato and Swiggy are already public listed companies. So the operation has to run by the law of the land. So therefore, we do a lot of training of our workforce, and on a lot of areas around traffic laws. Second, around emergency response. There are a lot of government emergency response tools available for people on the roads, which they are not aware. For example, whom to call if you meet with an accident. We have, like, for a urban company has around 10,000 women workers. There's a lot of government initiatives uh, across the states, different initiatives that the governments have to support the women in case of any emergency response. So it's important for these female workers to know how they can get that support. So we conduct a lot of trainings in collaboration with state polices. So, and this is the tactical collaboration. I think this is only going to grow in scale as the numbers of deliveries increase, as the consumer demand increases. The next big area that actually I want to cover is the strategic collaboration. And you all would be surprised to know, while the gig economy is so big, there is actually no law, there is no legislation in the country that monitors it. There is no law in India that monitors gig workers. And therefore, it puts this entire industry under a significant risk of misrepresentation. So the first part is, while a lot of organizations set up systems with the right intent to support their workers, there are bad actors within the system who will kind of bypass these systems and misrepresent. So companies like ours are always at risk of protests, misrepresentation, wrong facts being put out in the media. So, and because there is no legislation, there is continuous conversation which is required. In fact, Rajasthan and Karnataka have already passed some social security laws. But the fact is, unless the central government has a single law covering everybody across the length and breadth of the country, this gray area is always going to remain, and the risk will always remain. So therefore, there are collaborations that organizations, all the e-commerce and quick commerce companies are doing, working with the government to at least come with certain rules, some legislation, so that everything gets covered under that legislation, and there's no risk of misrepresentation. The law comes out, we follow the law, we are here to follow what the government tells us to do, and everything operates under that document. So yeah.
No, thank you. That's a really fascinating insight, and something which most of us are not privy to, because we all work in different kinds of industry. But this gig economy, the gig industry, the quick service, you are into like quick commerce, you are into quick service and efficient service. I think there are huge amount of challenges, especially to your people. And I think technology and processes are what are going to help them out, especially using the government provided tools and applications very effectively. Thank you. That's a great takeaway. Now, again, I'm going to jump track. And, Rakesh, you mentioned when we had this previous comment about how GSOCs can benefit best from people, good technology, and good intelligence. So I'm going to take up the issue of intelligence, where we say that, okay, threat intelligence is a huge enabler for security professionals in managing incidents and crisis. Yet today there is such a overload of information and a huge social media deluge, and that actually obfuscates the critical issues. So what are the methodologies that companies must adopt in this information fog if you want to extract good, relevant, and actionable intelligence?
Sure. Thanks, Sushil. Sushil, I'll be very straight, covering some of the aspects that we have all have experienced, and on the basis of our experience and the kind of intelligence that comes and that actually floats in the market. As I talking in my previous stint, maybe just a decade before, when whenever there was a threat or any sort of a direct threat to the organization, we used to reach out to different intelligence sources. We reach to contact our counterparts within the industry, and we try to get the maximum information. On the basis of that, we used to spend time and then filter through, and finally we used to come up with some intelligence which is actually relevant and recommended for the leadership for some effective decision making. Unlike that time, today we have some opportunities. Since we have technology in place, we have the right training, we have the right people. So some of the recommendations from my end would be, just to get rid of the information fog, we need to first of all set very clear priorities. What are we trying to safeguard? We need to identify the key assets, the system, processes which are really critical for the organization. And second, basis that, once we are ready with that, then we need to identify on the specific threats which actually can disrupt the business, or it can disrupt the organization's operational needs. So once we are done with that, we can always come up with what industry, what geography, and what operations are actually going to disrupt us, and accordingly we can come up with some tailor-made intelligence need. Intelligence is not something that whatever comes through and then we pass it on to the leadership. One is that. Secondly, if we come down, we need to certainly have some threat intelligence platform. And these TIPs, here I mean some opportunities to aggregate, normalize, and correlate data from multiple sources. Because the sources are floating inside, we need to have some automation around for prioritizing and filtering intelligence need. Third is certainly leveraging our artificial intelligence or machine learning opportunities, if that is possible. If the budget also permits, we need to understand the patterns, anomalies, and threats. Certainly, when we do it manually, there's a possibility that we miss out. These automated analysis will always help us to give some ready-made information through which we can have some interventions with a human or AI collaboration, that kind of opportunity, and then filter out the very right recommendation. And the last one would be the sentiment analysis. We need to have some algorithms maybe incorporated within our systems and technology, which could actually analyze the social media and trends, what exactly is going in the market, what sort of threats are there, and also some opportunities to get early warnings. How we could get early warning before even the leadership picks up the phone and talk to the head of security what is going on. There's an opportunity for internally within the JOC, within the GSOC or security control rooms, if they could pick up, get all the dissemination done, make a simple recommendation, and that at least goes to the security leadership before they could get a phone call. That's all, Sushil.
Thank you, Rakesh. Very well put. And I think what we can take up from there is identify what we need to protect, what are the threats, and then what are the intelligence requirements to identify those threats. And threat intelligence platforms are a great way to cut the clutter and reduce the overload of information. A decade ago, there used to be lack of information. Today, there is an overload which we need to sort out and figure out what's actionable. Arun, I'm going to ask the same question to you. And since you also work for an organization which provides some of these cutting edge technologies, including artificial intelligence solutions, one is that what are your concerns? How do you get the threat intelligence? And do you have any in-house solutions that we are not privy to, which or we are not, which we don't have access to, which can help you gain this threat intelligence in a better manner?
First of all, thank you, sir. Thanks for the opportunity to you and MitKat. Hello, everyone. So I'll probably approach this question a little bit more broader and generic. So as we all know that the actionable threat, Intel, the USP is speed and relevance. And also, as you rightly said, also Colonel Rakesh very appropriately put across the importance of accuracy of information. Since your question is very specific to the technology possibilities, certainly yes, because I remember being part of March 2024, we were talking about convergence of cybersecurity with physical security. And now we are talking about convergence of AI agents with humans as well as interdepartment synchronizations, right? So that is where we have landed just in 1 year. What it proves is that physical security cannot work in isolation, and the more collaborative we are in terms of data sharing, the better it is for us to predict and be accurate about our intel. So again, threats being external and internal. External, Colonel Rakesh has already mentioned about the possibilities. As we know, the data flow has collect, sort, analyze, act. And I think personally, we are in a stage where we can use AI for collect and sort. As you rightly said, information has become from terabytes, it's become now more than that, 10 times. And a human intervention in any of this is humanly impossible and leads to human errors. So I think we should use the technologies available in terms of AI, machine learning. We have natural NLM models for some data sets that are already available from a physical security use case standpoint. So those are enablers which will help expedite and improve the accuracy of a particular information. And then, of course, we will have security managers or analysts to kind of work on that particular information. The beauty of today's technology, I feel, is the openness of compatibility, right? I remember a decade back, we used to have closed protocol and licensing issues where one particular security system was not that collaborative with another security system. And today, the game is all about being flexible and adaptive in terms of technologies. One example, Colonel Sushil, is Copilot, right? Copilot is one particular AI platform, and the benefit of Copilot is, again, its ability to talk between other platforms, right? So you can use it as part of Office 365, which has Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and bulk of your Office-related platforms and tools. And then you can also explore other HRMS or other database servers where this will particularly work with a very specific set of queries, right? And also the other advantage of Copilot, I would say, is the prompt easiness of AI, right? Gone are the days when you have to write a very complex script or a particular query to kind of have a particular outcome. You can just write, in fact, any query in simple plain English, and the system has the ability to understand your requirement and adapt and also learn over a period of time. The other perspective quickly is, the importance of synergy between functions within an organization, right? So we spoke about cybersecurity and physical security collaborating, but I think it goes beyond that in today's world where your HR database, your financial database, and your security data lake has to have some kind of logic beyond the simple logic. Because there have been examples where one terminated employee with a disgruntled discussion has led to a severe outcome at the end, right? So in the era of hybrid risk, we cannot see risk in isolation, and we need to see what are the possible triggers within an organization, especially with insider threat. It may not start with a physical threat, so we need to kind of expand our horizon to understand the human part of our employees, which is equally important in today's stressful life. So back to you, Colonel Sushil. Thank you.
So much, Arun, and very good insights on Copilot, and I'm sure people are already using it. Just wanted a quick one on that. Does it have we changed enough? Are we training our people enough to use these AI platforms correctly to get the right kind of intel, or are they getting misled by data hallucination and old data and stuff like that?
Great. In my personal perspective, Colonel Sushil, technology has never been easier than this. Me being a user of these prompts, it is very simple, right? And it learns fast. So what happens is probably the first set of queries that you ask may not be as accurate as you have expected, but you can train your particular model, and over a period of time, it becomes accurate. And the other advantage is that the same data set can be leveraged by 10 different users for their requirement. So you need not build 10 different platforms and workflows for a particular query, right? Your data set can be the same, and it is just the front end execution that changes. So the AI takes care of it all. To your broader question in terms of learning, training, and capability, my organization definitely invests. In fact, you would have seen in the news, we have partnership with the Skill Development Council. In fact, our CEO was here last week to have a meeting with the Prime Minister of India, and there were 2 million training modules that have been launched. So yes, training has never been easy, but still, as an organization, and also all organizations focusing on AI is, kind of focused on getting their workforce up to speed on this.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. And John, coming back to you now again, related to intelligence and related to GSOC functioning. Today we have this major issue of misinformation and fake news, which can quickly escalate into crisis, which affects our brands, reputation, business continuity. What strategies can company adopt to safeguard their reputation and counter such disinformation campaigns in the coming year or in the coming times?
Sir, last year when the World Economic Forum report was generated, they did a survey, and misinformation and disinformation was rated amongst one of the biggest problems the countries and the businesses will face. And that's very important to have a multifaceted approach. I'll quickly jot down a few of the actions that we need to take. Definitely an online monitoring, social media monitoring for sure, what's happening, the chatter about business, what are people talking about, journalists talking about, monitoring tools that can detect misinformation early, and crisis management plans that are robust and tested as well. When you test it, bring in all the stakeholders, create scenarios of misinformation and disinformation impacting brand reputation, and test it so that it is robust. Transparency and communication matters a lot. The leaders in the panel did talk about it. Maintain an open and transparent communication with the stakeholders in case there is something coming up in the media. Have stakeholders who can manage it, fight it, right, and keep the clients informed. Customer engagement matters a lot, and collaboration with experts matters a lot. And a lot of times we collaborate effectively within the corporate security business resilient teams. But there are experts across the organization who build tools, who use AI, machine learning, IoT. We need to bring them all to fight this misinformation and disinformation. This matters a lot. And digital literacy training, I think Arun spoke about it, and the leader spoke about training, sensitization, simulation exercises to educate employees on digital and media literacy. Important, and regular updates, keeping leaders and stakeholders informed about what's happening across the online platforms, chatter, social media. This is very important to track what kind of trend is generating against your business, or any expected things that can come up in the next few days because the chatter is going in a wrong direction. And
Sorry, I think John, you just frozen up. If you want,
so
we couldn't hear you in between. I think you dropped off. So if you want, you can just switch off your bandwidth, your video, to conserve bandwidth so that we are able to hear you. Oh, I think he's dropped off. Nevertheless, so we are actually a bit short on time, so we may not go into the second round of questions, but definitely on the topics that I spoke to you all upon and which you so elaborately detailed in your explanations. Can I request you all to give, if you were to give one piece of advice to security leaders going forward on the aspects that you spoke about, just one little piece of advice, a quick one sentence soundbite, what would that be? So we'll just go round robin in no particular order. Can we start with you, Shekhar?
Yes, sir. So I would say site alignment is more important than site picture for all those who understand
Great.
marksmanship. And so the vision should be strategic and the implementation should be as crystal clear at tactical level.
Yeah.
Second would be, sir, collaboration is the key to solutions. Within the community of security professionals, we should always be willing to share our expertise and our lessons learned with others. So we should be transparent in that. There's nothing secretive about it. It might help making our own businesses better and also us as professionals better. So these are the
Fantastic.
two key takeaways that we have.
Thank you. Excellent example. And it so appeals to an infantry guy like me when we hear terminology, site alignment and site picture. I think we stopped hearing words very, very long back. Ian, what would you advise security professionals about? How
Touchdown, crawl, observe, sites fire. Don't assume that people understand your security protocols, and don't assume that they understand how your security technology works. Sometimes time invested in showing them how it works is time well spent.
Fantastic, fantastic, amazing, great insight. Arun, what would you suggest?
Sure, sir. Thank you. So I'll say two thoughts. One is what Satya Nadella always says, is to have a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset. That is applicable for everyone, technology and outside technology. He always says that you should learn it all rather than saying know it all, right? So if a person at that stature tells that, that kind of drives me to kind of learn something every day. The other thing is what my CSO regularly tells is you need to know people before you actually need them, right? So that's very simple, but it struck with me that you should make connections before you actually need them, and that again stresses the importance of relationship and communication for all of us. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I think Shekhar also said collaboration is the key. So it's not just external collaboration, it's also internal collaboration, which you're talking about. Great. Devashish, what would you advise security leaders to do?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I think one really needs to stay ahead of the curve, and this involves being aware of the latest technology and how it impacts us. Be aware of the emerging threats, and devise your security strategy to meet those challenges. Yeah.
Great. So be aware of emerging technology, be aware of emerging threats, and align your security technology to your security strategy to combine the best of both. Chirag, what about you?
So I think, my topic was insider risks. I think prioritizing a proactive, intelligence-driven security posture to tackle insider risk, and don't make it cyber tech only approach. I'm seeing a lot of companies make it only cyber tech. I think include the human and behavioral aspect, which will help mitigate that risk. Because in today's increasingly complex and interconnected world, reactive security measures are no longer sufficient. You have to adopt a proactive, intelligence-driven approach where we can anticipate threats, identify the vulnerabilities, and implement preventive measure in time so that these incidents don't occur. So I think that will be my take on this.
And is this, I mean, just as a matter of curiosity, since you are in the pharma industry, which is highly competitive, and we hear about high level thefts of IPR and stuff like that in the pharma industry, is this something that you need to focus, you specifically in your organization need to focus upon?
So incidentally, Sushil sir, I have been part of this global project where we are implementing this insider risk program globally, and I am the point of contact for corporate security, and that's why I made that point. Before I got into this project, they were only looking at the cyber aspect of it, and you're right, the theft, what they can do is great. So I have brought in this human and behavioral aspect to say cyber is one, but these other aspects are also important.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much. Gaurav, over to you.
Very simple advice for everybody. Start attending events like Mars 2025. This is
I
this is
love that.
where you get to know what's happening. And my compliments to everybody who has attended.
Thank you. One more piece of advice. This was free publicity for us, of course.
The other is I spoke of government collaboration. So I think it's very important for leaders to first understand the legislations and the laws, and therefore only then they can pass it on to the organizations. So we ourselves have to be first very clear on what these are. So it's very important to have very close collaboration with legal teams, with public policy. A lot of collaboration is required.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And last but not the least, John, your 2 bits of advice.
So I think we should say stories with data, facts to the business leaders and create business solutions, whatever we build, GSOC, SOCs or security resilience teams. I think we should say stories to business leaders with data and then find business solutions so that we can travel along with business and add so much of value to.
Thank you. Absolutely valid point. And I think we spoke initially about budgets. So I think if you are selling a business solution, you will never have an issue of selling a solution because people will see the financial value of that solution as well. Thank you, all of you. You've been wonderful. You've been brief. You've been so concise and yet so comprehensive. And we covered a wide range of topics, and there's so much more that we could have spoken upon. But I think we'll leave that for another forum at another time. I will start with that. Thank you so much, and hope to see you all soon. And Ian, thank you once again for waking up so early and being part of this forum. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you to the venerated speakers. Extremely relevant topics covered in great depth and a very lively audience. Please keep the comments and questions coming. I can see the panelists are replying to them all in the Q&A box. And now for the third and final panel discussion on technology. Risk and resilience in 2025 is incomplete without this. Please join me in welcoming our visionary leader and moderator, Pawan Desai, CEO, MitKat Advisory.
Thank you, Aishwarya. So on a very lighter note, somebody sent me a message that we have been doing this Mars for last 3 years. When are we going to move to Jupiter and Saturn? So why are we stuck with only Mars? So we thought we'll start with that. But thanks a lot. Sorry for the delay we are running slightly late. So we'll try to cover it up. We have a great panel with us today. I'm not going to introduce each one of you in detail. I don't see, is there. So I'm not going to, Kunal is posting all the bios in the chat box. You can go through that, but very quickly, we have, not in any particular order, we have Kundan here, is a great entrepreneur, runs a company called Essent. You can get the details. Amazing guy and thinks 2 steps ahead on what things are happening, and we are going to get great insights from you. We have Suraj. He needs no introduction. If you don't know Suraj, then you are in the wrong forum. I think that's the only thing I can say, which is there. We have Kalnat Dabas, an amazing soldier and doing amazing work with Indian Hotels Charter Limited. I think one thing apart from his bio, I should add that if you have not seen the movie Amaran, you should see that. We have Rahul Bose playing a role of Colonel Amit Dabas. I think so privileged to have you around in this panel. We have Captain Vinod from Emphasis. Again, a great guy, talks so much on the convergence of security, technology, and how, mainly talks about how to implement things on ground, and we'll hear his views. And last but not the least, we have Akshay, who doesn't agree with anyone on anything. So it's a great guy to debate on and discuss on, but has so much of insights on how the future of the security and the whole technology will look like. With that, I'd like to start very quickly on my context of this. All of us who are there in this panel and all of us around us are in a very fortunate we are very, very fortunate people because we are in a we are in a wave. Every cultures which you have heard, like what in Indian culture of mythology, when Pralay came, when Manu was the only survivor of that. We have Noah's Ark, which he has, and every kind of culture has a flood myth or some other myth. I feel we are in the myth of the AI wave, which we are saying, and life is going to be very, very different. As a lot of people said, last year we are talking about something else. This year we are so the speed of change has been so fast, and next 4 or 5 years is going to be very, very different for all of us. A lot of issues are apart from that, but I see the new dawn of this an entire wave of this is going to create a new humanity for us. It is going to create surplus and wealth unheard of, in addition to the risk which we are going to discuss today. I think controlling, curbing, or slowing down this wave is nothing short of stupidity for any of us. And beyond that, most of us will not be able to stop it also. We like it or we don't like it. We have to ride this wave. So best is to ride this wave and enjoy it, which is there. I don't like a lot of things which I think Arun and his boss says about SaaS is going to die because we have three entrepreneurs on this panel whose life depend on SaaS. So we are very worried about when he says Satya Nadella says when the SaaS is already dead. So we have to really, really think hard and how the future is going to. The AI agents, they are going to take over. We are going to discuss that. Interoperability is the key. Gone are the days of proprietary systems, closed systems. Everybody has to talk with everyone. Humans, machines, they have to be interoperable. Risk, I think we have talked about risks enough in the first and the second on geopolitical. So let's leave it to colonels and journals who have spoken about risks and those things. We'll talk about more on technology and how to implement on ground AI, IoT, robotics. I think that's what we need to focus more on. And I really like that the saying that if we have to transform, we'll have to invest. So I really like what earlier panelists said, that putting newborn baby on a diet. So let's not cut the budgets unless we really invest in ourselves and our organizations and our technologies. We are not going to get good results. With that, I do really like to start the panel, starting with the Suraj, which is there. What do you think are the emerging trends uh, which we as security professionals should really monitor in 2025 and beyond, more focusing on practical things around us and what controls? I think we do not have control over Trump, what he's going to say and what he's not going to say, but what can we do, what is in our control?
Absolutely. Thank you, Pawan sir, and good afternoon, everyone. In my view, the physical security industry is evolving rapidly, embracing technology like never before. In fact, the physical security industry, you and I actually have no options. It is no longer a good to have, it is a must have. We will have to change and adopt and perish. And as somebody rightly brought out, you will have to invest. However, these technologies also present a set of both challenges as well as opportunity. And let me just walk through some of my views on these technology trends, trends that I am following, which I feel will redefine physical security in 2025 and beyond. It's a complete game changer. For all of us as risk and security professionals responsible for protecting people, protecting our properties, our assets, our reputation, we need to understand these trends that are shaping our everly increasing, always uncertain, complex security landscape. Let me talk with something which is very closer to us, the smart integrated buildings or campuses, as you would like to call it. The integration of all the safety security systems and subsystems, and just to name a few, like a perimeter intrusion system, access control, video surveillance, fire life safety, public address, building management system like HVAC, electric, lights, blinds, even booking management systems like space, seating, collaboration spaces, meeting rooms, everything under one platform. Now what this solution does, it takes the security to the next level, by integrating both security and non-security systems under one centralized command center. This integrated solution maximizes efficiency, minimizes human dependency. To be very honest, if you invest rightly, it will overall reduce your cost and enhance your user experience, both for your internal clients as well as your external clients. This solution also has obviously two phases or two sides of the coin. The front end is what your clients will look at, a single mobile application, a one-stop shop for all our security needs, managing your access rights, managing your employees, visitors, vendors registration, managing your vehicle registration, parking management, managing your material movements, incident crisis management, raising an SOS, confirming your safety during crisis, raising a request for, say, I've lost something, or I found something, or I need mobility support, or I need a medical support, raising issues, concerns, giving feedback. This is a one-stop shop for every touch point that we have as corporate security professionals. The other part is, and this is to do with all the investments and the big buy-ins and the seat at the table, it is very important that we collaborate with other partners, especially our admin partners who have more touch points than us. They can also collaborate with us and get into the same platform. At the back end is where we come in. We are the ones who are centrally managing these command centers for all offices, buildings, campuses, and not only in India but across the world. You don't need hundreds of guards. Now you just have smart technology doing the things for you and relaying back things for you to operate on. I'll give some examples so that people can relate to what I'm trying to say. Say, for example, I have to work from a office X. I open up the app, I raise my request for the access, then I can use my face, mobile, or access badge to access the office. I raise a request for, say, a booking seat or a collaboration seat. I know which building I have to go, which floor I have to go. I just raise a request. I see I want to bring one of this cars, or I want to go on my bike. I add my bike number or my car number, and the ANPR in the cameras will read these numbers. Once it is authenticated, the boom barrier automatically opens up. It allows me to the parking area. The smart parking will take me to the nearest parking slot closer to the building I want to work with, or the seat that I've been allotted, as much as possible. You never know if there is a space available. The slot pops up and says, this is the slot that you have to go and park your car. Everything is going to be paperless, touchless, faceless, and yes, because of this, seamless. Even after this, if a user has issues on ground, you can use two-way speakers with a camera. The operator on the other side can hear you, see you, authenticate you. And if you are an authentic individual and you have the rights to enter this facility, they can override the system and allow you in. So we don't need physical guards to respond to moderate risk events or low risk events. Yes, of course, high risk events will always require physical response, but this is how technology can enable us to manage our operations across the world with minimal manpower, with minimal dependency on the human capital. The other one, which obviously a lot of you have already spoken about, is the AI powered security solution. This is definitely going to revolutionize the physical security space, bring capabilities through, bring capabilities that we were thinking it would be futuristic right at our palms, and it is accessible to all of us. From predictive analysis to automated threat response, AI is doing more than just enhancing efficiency. It is actually helping security teams to stay proactive. Uh, Smart cameras with facial recognition, automated alert system, predictive algorithms that can identify potential risks before escalations. From a business standpoint, this means fewer false alarm, faster response time, unmatched layer of security and protection. Again, let me give you an example so that you are able to relate to what I'm saying, and organizations are doing this. Let me tell you. Say you are a operator in a centralized command center. You get an alarm from an X location. When the alarm pops up, immediately the CCTV camera of that location, or the closest CCTV camera of that building, that floor, that zone pops up, gives you a visual of the issue. Once the system knows the issue, it pops up the list of stakeholders you have to reach out to. Say, for example, it's a security alarm. Somebody has intruded into a facility. You call up the security team. You have the number readily available. If it is a water leakage, it calls up the PMS team. If it is a equipment that has gone faulty, you have the list of the vendor that is going to respond to in that city, in that country, etc., etc. Once you activate the right stakeholders on the ground for the response based on the incident, the AI platform will throw in a incident checklist. It will pop up and it will take you step by step. Okay, now this has happened. The next step is check this. Once you check it, you click it on it. Then you do check next. It will take you step by step of the incident management procedure to ensure that you have taken all the steps, you have got all the details, and then it automatically generates reports with photographs, with actions, with recommended after actions, automatically sends it to a appropriate distribution list. And the system will ensure that the event is live monitored and it is not closed till it is actually closed. Let me give you another example, and this is something that will disrupt the way we manage security operations. uh, AI can also assist us in reviewing heavy video footages, identify anomalies, detect patterns in minutes that human operators might miss, can transform data from all sources into actionable intelligence in no time, from smart intelligence to artificial intelligence to intuitive user experience to automation, robotics, responsible AI, ensuring technology is both authentic as well as transparent. This entire responsible AI is also a technology, is also a means of ensuring that we are mitigating the risks. We are always, compliant with a lot of things that have come up very recently around privacy, GDPR, DPDPA Act, etc., etc. I think the the one that I am trying to say here is, and which Pawan sir also alluded to, is from AI to AI agent, meaning you just have to type your question onto the agent. You say how many guards are there on the shift in X building, how many visitors or vendors are there on X site, how many card slots are available in Y building, what is the ratio of the fire wardens on the floor versus the number of employees, track where this car has been parked, show me all the blue bags on the campuses if somebody has lost his blue bag. It will also answer you questions. It will, meaning it will not only answer you questions, but it will run through your policies, procedures, protocols. It will run through all your old reports and give you, this is the best possible approach in dealing with this issue. And it will give you it will give you step by step, these are the actions that you need to take. It will also create the reports for you. It will also communicate the reports that you have created to the stakeholders. Frankly speaking, the sky is the limit. It's you can imagine that this needs to be done, and this is something that is required for security. It will be done. And I know I'm falling short of time, but I'll just rattle out few other technologies that we all need to think about and invest. And I am very sure we have a lot of vendor partners who are investing into them, who are making sure that these technologies are accessible to us at a reasonable price. And I'm very sure everybody will be able to take full advantage. So, like virtual reality or augmented reality training for security personals. I think one of the technologies that we don't really talk about, and of course it's quite regulated, the drone and the anti-drone technology. And this technology is not only limited to surveillance. There are many other things that can be done through drone. Uh, uh, Pawan sir did mention about robotics, the rise of the robots. I'm very sure it's going to be the next game changer, especially for remote governance, for far-flung locations, for coverage during weekends and holidays. Uh, a lot of people talked about convergence of physical and cyber, and of course collaboration across team. The entire concept of fusion centers, meaning one fusion center managing all issues across the function from one city for the globe. Of course, let's be clear, we got to be regulatory compliant, and all the privacy laws needs to be adhered to. Sustainability technology is something that is again something that people are talking about. I think the last one, and I even I don't think this is going to die. Software as a service. In fact, we go one step ahead and say security as a service. Use the AI ML advancements, cloud platforms, advanced data analytics to actually slice and dice the huge amount of data we We collect, but we don't know what to do about it, and then take decisions actually on fact and not on gut. So I think these are few of my opening remarks, Pawan sir. Anything else you want to ask?
Suraj, I think I'll just say that because he mentioned and text me that I'm going to take both the questions together. That's why it was slightly long. So don't worry that. So it is not that. So I think two things, Suraj. Few years back when I used to speak with you, you said I do not understand technology, and I can see you a changed man in the last few years. So kudos to you and this thing. And in between, I forgot that I thought you are the marketing team of Version X. I thought you were talking about exactly. Has so maybe I'll jump on to Akshay straight away and talk
Sir,
about
like I said, sir, it is not an option.
this is not an
Either
option.
I embrace or adopt,
Yeah,
or I
absolutely.
may
So
be
I've been
obsolete
talking
within
to
no time.
Akshay for last 3-4 years. I think he always says that why people do not understand a simple thing, which I'm trying to say, that integrate everything. Maybe Akshay, your thoughts on the thing, and you must be thrilled
I
to
think
see what Suraj
I
said.
was in fact
Yes.
about to say the same thing. I think whatever Suraj is talking, I think is something I've been advocating for years now, and I think it's something that we already built as well. So good to hear. I think people realizing that this is what is needed. So nice, I think.
Maybe you want to share some more on the challenges you face on implementation side. What are the issues come with this solving a mega problem? Something that you want to maybe just discuss.
You're talking from my side?
Yes.
Yeah, see, the problem what Suraj has identified is, I think, is also correct. See, gone are the time where we have to look things in silos. I think everything works together as a single point, right? Either a single point of failure, a single point of success. It has to be done that way. The problem of this is there's a problem of plenty. So it's such a scattered, vast systems. Getting them onto one platform or integrated platform is an extremely complex ask. So this, for good or bad reasons, has not been achieved by many companies, and I would say very few companies, from a Virgin X perspective, have been focused from day one on this. So it has been an 8-year-long journey to achieve whatever Suraj has mentioned. The typical challenges, I think, what we face in situations like this is, see, productizing something is a problem because cost becomes is an issue, right? If you start customizing for each business, then it becomes a very cost prohibitive. So we have to have some tools which are ready to deploy quickly, manageable, customizable, stuff like that. And the processes to customize is a challenge because it is not like an HR or accounts which is standardized, right? Each city, be tier city, A tier city, country, geography, region, process may be same, but everything around it changes. Like compliance changes, how you execute changes, automation changes, hardware on the ground changes, people understanding changes, languages. So that is where I think the challenges come. But I think with that also has a great opportunity, I think, to build something as vast or complex. So that has been I would say, the challenge and also the good part of it.
Sure. Thanks, Akshay. I think I'll just move on to Amit here. I think so much have been spoken about technology, but I think ultimately it's the people. So the CSOs also need to change drastically. So you are a proponent of First X. You really loved your session during the last ASIS thing. I think that is where I think a lot of us need to invest ourselves. Maybe your thoughts on defining what is First X CEO and what we all need to do.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, thank you for having me on this all-important platform. Very interesting discussion so far, including in the earlier panels. And of course, I promise to be the moderator's best friend and keep things short and on point. So let's start with the simple truth which everybody's been echoing, and that is the world of security has changed. It's no longer the future, it's here. Gone are the days when the CSO job was, simply to prevent theft, monitor access, and patch vulnerabilities. So today, the modern CSO doesn't just protect the assets. They expect it to, and they do drive business value, foster resilience in the enterprise, and enable organizational growth. And of course, the panel says for itself, this comes from embracing and leveraging technology. So the old playbook no longer works. Earlier we were like a brick wall, strong but static, and companies were investing in CCTV, access control, guards at the gate, etc. It worked for a while. Now, but the challenges were limited then, and so were the expectations. CEOs never asked, how can security help us grow? They asked how much is it costing us. And then this digital age happened. Suddenly, security wasn't just about the physical, and it was about the digital. Data became the new currency. Stakes skyrocketed. A data breach that would possibly result in 40 million credit cards exposed. It wasn't just a security failure, it was a business disaster. And it costed the company crores in lawsuits and lost trust. So fast forward to today where we see the rise of the tech-first CSO. Now this guy is a leader who doesn't just react to threats, they anticipate them. Leveraging technology to turn security into a differentiator or a competitive advantage, if you will. And more importantly, as I say in many forums, that they do the primary job of helping businesses walk around the situation rather than through it. So that's the important part where they're able to see over the horizon. Now, an example from my organization, which has also gave out in that meeting that you referred to, that we've invested time, effort, money involving a platform designed for integrated brand protection, safety, security, and several aspects of business operations as well. Now, that which is more than just a tool, it's an intelligent business enabler. So now you can have the CSO presenting a dashboard to the CEO that shows not just incidents and risks, but patterns of operational inefficiencies, avenues of revenue leakage and fraud, opportunities to save costs. So that's not security anymore, it's strategy, right? So the impact on the bottom line is for all to see. But how do you lead this transformation, and which is the thing? And this has been in bits and pieces echoed in earlier panels also. So let me try and articulate a 4-step roadmap. First, of course, is to lead with a vision, that is to develop a technology-enabled risk-driven roadmap. Not a one-size-fits-all, but what works for you. Think beyond security. Align the strategy with organizational growth, because I firmly believe if you're not sitting at the table with the CEO and CFO, you're probably in the wrong room, right? Then second thing is to leverage the technology. Build a stack that integrates AI, IoT, analytics. Create what everybody is saying, like a global SOC that combines physical, cyber, and business insights. And we heard a few speakers from earlier panels expressing the same thoughts. An important point is that we live in a world of abundance, where technology gives us access to tools and opportunities that were unimaginable, 5 years back. For a CSO, this abundance means that you don't need to build everything from scratch. The tools are out there. You just have to be informed. The cloud platforms, open APIs, AI models, all are there, ready to be integrated into your strategy. So see what works for you, have the strategy in place, and go out and shop. It's like a buffet out there, but yes, of course, things require to be brought together. And that's where probably all our partners come in. The third thing is to drive business value, show stakeholders the ROI of security investments. That also was echoed in the earlier panel. You demonstrate how technology will not only reduce the risk, but also cut the cost and drive efficiency, right? So it's always easier, to get management buy-in, and also it simply makes more sense to have a business solution that also does security. And the fourth thing is, of course, to foster a culture of resilience. So you build a team that's adaptable, tech-savvy, and aligned with the vision. Which is technology heavy, because security, as is often said, not just a department, it's a mindset which should permeate across the organization. So quickly to sum it up, I think a tech first CSO is a strategic innovator, trusted advisor, and a catalyst for business transformation. By aligning the must-have technology, and I stress the word must-have technology, not nice to have, must-have technology with the business goals, we can build a resilient culture and deliver measurable value. And by doing that, we don't just protect the organization, we actually elevate the organization. Thank you.
You're on mute, Pawan sir. You're on mute.
Sorry. Thanks a lot, Amit. I think great insights and a lot of things to take away as young CSOs on this. I'll just move on to Vinod here. Like we are doing a lot of things on technology, on ourselves to improve and to maybe next version of better, our version of next. But there are a lot of risks which comes with integration. Every system gets integrated, builds up a risk, and every interaction is a potential disaster or a potential risk which can be there. So what are the things which you feel needs to be mitigated? Because every system in isolation is a secure system. But when you integrate, there are loopholes which comes in. So what do you think are the major issues in the current conditions we need to mitigate?
Thank you, Pawan. Happy New Year to everyone. It's an honor to be part of this esteemed panel. Right, people have been talking about technology, and you have seen that technology has impacted every sphere of life, including physical security. So, as we threshold of this evolving digital era, it is very imperative for us to understand how tech advancements are reshaping our world and what it means for physical security. If you look at pandemic, what it has, how it has impacted us. It has significantly disrupted the work environment across the globe, leading to fundamental changes in how organizations operate. And it has definitely served as a catalyst for a change, for a new work era. And more technology is getting integrated into the business operations, changing nature, speed, and the processing of work. I think every organization has a cadence set around periodic risk assessments to identify what the weaknesses are in the system and build controls to mitigate those risks. As you rightly brought out, there is a much felt need for integration of security systems. And let me uh, provide you, a particular incident which can, provide a proper insight as to how technology has to be, integrated. So I don't know how many of you have heard of famous Cholima scheme. Um, it is basically a North Korean scheme that is run by the state. In fact, the report suggests that the spies have penetrated into the Western companies, uh, apparently using fake identity, and their objective is to receive paycheck month on month. And what they do is they send that paycheck back to North Korea to fund the nuclear program. And so what has happened here is, when you look at this case study, so it is very clear that the remote hiring process that came in with the pandemic, and especially when you look at the contract staff who come on board with very limited, background vetting and checks, they are able to circumvent the controls and gain employment. Similarly, there is lack of coordination between, systems. For example, the HRMS system is not integrated with the access control system, which leaves a big loophole for people to exploit with malified intention. And very clearly, there are instances where these contract staff, it is dependent on the manager to exit the person, but they end up, being in the system for a long period of time because there's no checks and balances around it. It is not automated. When the person exits, this access doesn't get removed, which leaves a big loophole for these people with malified intention to extract sensitive information and hold it with them, and initiate ransomware attack, or many other ways to exploit vulnerabilities in the system. So it's very important for us to understand these particular risks. This is where I think it is critical need for a more robust vetting processes, continuous security monitoring, and improved coordination between HR, IT, and security teams in protecting against advanced persistent threats. So I believe, as Suraj and others brought out, there is a need for integration of multiple, platforms. There is a requirement of coordination among various functions to ensure that these threats are mitigated.
Sure. Thanks. Great points. Just to, I think we are short on time, so I'll come very quickly to each one of you. But before that, let me go to Kundan first. So you operate in various geography, various time zone, various clients of various class, color, creed, which is there, and everybody has their different expectations from ethics, from compliance, from regulatory angle. How do you maintain a parity? How do you maintain a kind of a common minimum denominator kind of thing into that? And that becomes very difficult, because what is very easy, and everything we talk about is about sharing data and about restricting data. These are paradox to each other in terms of when we talk about privacy. And AI, they work in paradox in some sense. So what is your thought, and how do you maintain this kind of compliances and the governance around it?
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you, Pawan, for having me on the panel. Very interesting, I'd say, views from the fellow panelists, and the earlier, conversation are very interesting. I'll take a cue and continue the thought on, Suraj talked about the AI, Akshay spoke about the challenges, and, Amit on the larger fostering the resilience, culture across the organization. I'll try and give a more holistic, broader view to, and I'll touch on what Vinod just mentioned about as well. Uh, I think technology, we all understand, is moving way faster than the risk and the businesses all around. And the speed of technology, I don't think any one of us can match. We're just trying to cover up with technology. While, if you take AI has been the most talked about subject in here, AI is the biggest risk. How many regulations are out in the world on AI? Very few. India, the biggest market, one of the biggest consumer market, we really don't have a regulation on AI. Now, when we talk about and I saw a very interesting comment on a God's eye, one platform which can bring everything put together. One of the attendees put a very interesting platform. We all wish there is one. But when it comes to the security, risk, and compliance, Akshay, you want to say something?
He has it, so he's saying he has it, so.
Okay. So, the larger framework around security, we all are largely security compliance risk professionals out here on the attendee and the panelist. These are big verticals inside an organization. They can't work in silos. We all are talking about, a policy management team, an audit team, a governance team, a risk team, an incident team, a crisis team, a GSOC team, a security team. All of this is happening all within an organization. How many of the organization really have massively integrated or successfully integrated all put together? AI is going to come later. AI is kicked in, but leveraging an AI with a right use case, it is still a challenge. While some of the easier use case of a camera, a visually camera or a sensitive motion-based technologies, but in real sense, the data security has been a biggest challenge, the data protection, the data security. If you take all the AI, platforms, none of the organizations would throw up their data on an AI platform. They need a localized LLM, their own private large language model. How many of them have been able to build? It is their own organization. What intelligence is going to throw up? Unless you load that with tons of data or some kind of a relevant data, it will give you intelligence. The generic available information on risk, whether it's, DataSurfer is doing a great job, those tools would still work. But when it comes to an organization-wide integrated God's eye platform, whatever that one may call it, is it a GRC, governance risk compliance, or is it a larger business resilience, which covers all aspects of GRC, as well as the other aspects of a continuity management, crisis management, holistic risk compliance and security aspects, whether it's a physical risk, whether it's a cyber risk, whether talk about all the civic and the geopolitical risk all put together. That is Pawan, now I'm going to try and address your point on what is the world view. I think India, while we are very sensitive to risk and security, we have our own traditional ways of doing that. We talk about technology, but adoption is the least in India. We are ourselves a technology play, but for us, technology is something that we don't invest. When it comes to larger organization, the budgets are cut, most of it all, and that's my personal talking to it. Everywhere else in the world, I think when it comes to security and compliance, there are no budgets. You go and you do it. That's all about it. So the adoption is faster and people want to do it. While in Asia and India, I think we want to learn from whether it's going to be successful or not and then adapt it. In certain cases, a few top-notch organizations or industries are still very receptive to the key adoption and making significant investments, and those are very few around the world in the country itself.
Good. I think amazing point. I think Kundan, yes, it is a complex problem. There is no simple answer. So I'm going to flip it slightly differently. I'm not going to ask the questions which I have given to all the panelists. I'm going to ask questions which participants have asked. So be prepared, whatever comes to you. So I'll start with Amit first. There is a question which says, how does CSO maintain a hygiene in a continuously evolving and complex scenario? Like what we are in that, and what do we do differently than what we are used to?
Yeah, I think it's been answered in bits and parts as to, what the new outlook of the CSO is supposed to be, or how it will benefit the organization. That the CSO has to be an important player and be noticed and have that kind of a stature is a foregone conclusion. because unless you have that, and like, I do agree with what Kundan just said, that, most organizations do not take risk and security seriously. And that's where the CSO gets the kind of status that his organization's worldview is on risk and security. But things are changing, I think. And while we have to do this upstream paddling to actually go there and pull our chairs to the table where the decisions are being made, we must back it up with a lot of competence. So I think the first and foremost thing that the CSO is required to do is get their worldview in order. Upskill themselves, not in terms of getting, to be able to code Python or something like that, but at least be able to be in a situation where they can demand the correct effects from technology, from the vendors, where they can put, our partners through some credible rigor when it comes to, and consequently, what's going to happen is once you develop that kind of mindset on technology, you are able to see the double dipping and the wastages that your organization indulges in, and you could arrest that and actually take a lead. Because I don't think there's any organization which would not want saving, which would look away if you told them that there is leakages happening somewhere, and if you could point them out because of the competence that you have, then that's where people sit up and take notice. But to back that up, you also require competent, credible people in your team who will be able to deliver to that vision, who subscribe to that vision. And so capability development, again, is another ask, which is extremely important. So your own plus your team, I think, getting them to have a mindset shift towards technology is, I think, one of the most important things we could do to start the journey toward being a tech-first department. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. I'll come to Vinod here. We have various frameworks to quantify cyber risk, but we do not have similar frameworks to quantify physical risks as evolved as we have cyber risk. What do you think is needed as an industry?
I guess, Pawan, we should be part of the enterprise risk management group, right? We should be able to, of course, by being part of the corporate security, you have visibility to, how things are on the ground. And as other panelists brought out, there's a lot of, human behavioral aspect which is involved. There are, other aspects which is related to access control, CCTV, privacy related matters. I think there is a, much felt need for us to be part of that group and contribute to the risks that exist in our space. And I'm sure with our visibility and competence, we should be able to, bring out those, particular, case studies which can really help uh, the probably the risk landscape to include those things and help the organization to uh, improve the security structure and also enable business. I think there's a lot of things that we do which is a business enabler. And for example, I can tell you that during the pandemic, in fact, we had to do a really out of box thinking, especially when it came to when it came to ensuring that we continue with the business, especially related to those with processing sensitive information such as credit card and HIPAA. The clients were really not ready to move it to home, and they wanted this to be run within the premises with all the ODC security controls, with all the physical security controls. And that is when we had to leverage AI and ensure that there is a solution which is in place for us to have the same set of controls replicated at home to pick up the behavioral aspects of people and then provide the right assurance to the client, which was really a game changer. And not only that, in fact, it also helped in winning deals for us. So that is something as a physical security team we can get involved and ensure that we are, definitely, break the myth and be ahead of the curve, as somebody, mentioned in the last panel. It's very important that, we are part of this, a table with the CEO and the CFO, as rightly brought up by Colonel Amit. And that is where we can contribute and provide our insights, which is quite valuable. Unfortunately, we are missing that especially with the cyber and information security that is coming and blurring the boundaries, and it is where we have to step in and get involved and ensure that we contribute.
Sure. I think I'll just add here one of the global CEOs who I was interacting in US last year. So when he said that, where you pointed that during pandemic, we wish to think out of box. He says, we have to continuously think out of box, otherwise we'll be out of the box. So will not remain in the box. So I think that's where the situation is. We have to continuously be there. Just moving on to Akshay here, there is a question which comes that, what are the preventive measures which can come and control misuse of deep fakes? Because all these platforms which are coming up with deep fakes and all those can become a real nuisance and real threat. What do you think can be done to avoid that?
See, I don't really think we can avoid deep fakes. I think that is going to stay and forever will be there. I think what I believe can only happen is like how we have a blue tick in Twitter, right? So unless we can verify the source of the information, we should not trust the information. I think that is pretty much would be the answer for it. But otherwise, there is no way to prevent a deep fake. You can't really prevent it. You can't really stop it. You will be fooled by it. Only thing you can do is, I think some organization or somebody will have to come up and say, we authenticate this information, and I think we can only rely if, let's say, if we see any official video from, let's say, Modi, right? We cannot take it for granted unless and until it is being blue ticked by either a government site or, let's say, Twitter, or somebody has to do that. Otherwise, we just have to learn to live with it and ignore them, and that there is no preventing it. Nothing is going to prevent it.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
validate it with MitKat.
No. I think no. I think, yeah, I hope I like to hear that, but I don't think
So I
that's
have, anyways, I think you had some more questions, but I wanted to add something about its
just
CSO roles and
very quickly, yeah, in 1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So just, I think, in fact, I'm not from the domain. I think most of the people, I think I'm more from a technology side. And I think one of my biggest plight, and I'm good to hear from both Suraj, Kundan, and I think Vinod's side. I think they are my prospective clients. I'm going to meet you guys soon. Uh, More importantly, see, what I have also seen is that CSO's job, as per me, I always very strongly advocate, it is not their job to implement technology. Their job is to have the right partners to implement that technology, or rather, they should just lay out, I think, policies, protocol, and guidelines, right? Rest, I would say a right partner has to implement those to achieve the desired outputs. And it is not for them to decide which technology to use, how to integrate, and what to bring on the table. I think that's not their job. But they bring the expertise and the domain knowledge, what has to be done to manage the organization security well. I think that's their job and role. And they have to enable it in the right way. Also, what I feel is budget has to be part of the, what I've also considered, a lot of people will say, it's not like building a software. It is not you go to a software company and ask them to build a process. It doesn't function that way, right? It's a very specialized skill set that you need. And so budget has to be part of the proposal or the objective. So if a CSO wants to achieve an output, it can be with budget. So let's say, fine, you have a certain budget that you allocated. You try to achieve that in that budget with the right set of technology. I think should be the approach. Also about AI, I think what Kundan rightly said is, I think is absolutely correct. People cannot use AI across the board, right? Your AI is tailored for you, only then it is effective. I also keep telling most of the organization that please do not think of AI to start with. First, you have data, right? First, spend 1 or 2 years gathering data about your own processes. Once you have that data, is actually you can do anything with AI on top of it. I just wanted to add those few aspects of it. So
I think just we have 2 more minutes. So just to conclude with Suraj in this, what
Pawan sir, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I had a view, and I think Akshay did steal a lot of my thunder. I think Akshay correctly pointed out, and to your earlier comment, we are security professionals. We understand security. We understand what is our requirements and what can technology do to assist us and help us. And even in our organization, we have obviously realized it. What we have done is we have now gone to our technology teams who are experts in technology, who are up to date with the latest technology, who are there to simplify the complexities that we are talking about integration, because they are the ones who are, they are the experts. They are the ones who know how to be compliant with the regulations, which are very, very complex. So what we have done is we have actually moved all our equipments to the technology function. So I only give a demand that I need X number of cameras. this is going to be my strategy and this is where I need the cameras to be installed. It is the technology function that is buying the cameras from a vendor with all the hardware that is required from my perspective, and all the software that is going to meet the requirements of both me as well as them to easily integrate it. So it is the technology who's actually my vendor internally who provides me these CCTV cameras or access control. All my platforms are not from the shelf out of the market. It is the technology team that are going and doing all that. And with that, the seamless integration, the complexities that we have talked about is easily mitigated. The other part is, let's be very clear, technology now is front ending this, so they put their best foot forward. There are no hurdles, and it is easier for the technology folks to speak with people like a Akshay or a Kundan than me sitting there saying that, hey, I don't know what you guys are talking about. So I think that is the change that we have brought about, and that is how we've been able to seamlessly integrate a lot of stuff. We don't have to buy like new hardwares. Just figure out you have a lot of potential and depth into your organization. Just get all the partners together on the same journey. It's quite easy, to be very honest. And let's be very clear, we are being paid to make life simple, and simple is our middle name.
There's
Thank you.
one more thing
Pawan sir.
I can add to what I think Suraj said is, I think what I will also tell you to take one more step back. Don't tell the companies how many cameras you need and where to place them. You still stick to the objective that I want to do this. Now, whether to put 2 cameras or 20 cameras should not be your prerogative.
So
Again,
great.
on the budgets.
Thanks. And so great insight from Suraj Simple Shankpal. I think I'll move on to the last comments by Kundan on this. Kundan, what gives you sleepless nights? Because you have data, critical data for so many companies, their resiliency, their entire backbone relies on your platform if something goes wrong. So what gives you, as service provider, what gives you sleepless nights?
I think one is the changing landscape of regulations. When will it's going to change? Nobody knows. Even the regulators don't know what they want. Actually, most of the time, and it's just across the board around the world, regulators themselves are learning throughout with their licensee companies. Let's say if it's a banking regulation, they are learning from their banks, their own companies. Nobody can preempt what's going to change. AI, a typical case of it. AI Act, if it's there, is there, but how effective is that? Nobody knows. DPDPA Act is just come in India, but then how many people really bother about it, know about it? We've been talking about sustainability, it's been for a while, but when it comes to act and enforcement, those are some of the challenging time that we have as one of the platform providers, because you got to know it more than the regulators and the customers and around the world. So forums like these are very, very helpful in brainstorming, discussing the worldview, and collecting different pieces of information put together. So that's from my side.
Sorry, I can go on and on, but I think we have shortage of time. So I'll just say thank you to all the panelists. I think Amit, Akshay, Kundan, Suraj, great. I think I'll summarize into one word. I think from security to strategy, I think that's the theme I think we can take away with. I think that will be really great for all of us. I'll thank you once again to everyone, Vinod and everyone. Back to Aishwarya. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
A fantastic final session. The industry's trailblazers have provided us with plenty of insights and spoken on a mix of topics that have explored the various facets of security. As we approach the end of the event, I would like to invite Sandeep Sinha, Director, Risk Consulting and Managed Services, MitKat Advisory, to please sum up and provide us with the concluding thoughts. Sir, over to you.
Right. Thank you, Aishwarya. I hope I am visual and audible.
Yes, sir.
At the very outset, I would like to convey MitKat Advisory's heartfelt gratitude to each and every one who is present on this platform, especially to our esteemed speakers and all the attendees across industry sectors and across professions, I'm very happy to say, and across qualifications. So we've got a fantastic number of students, we've got a fantastic number of practitioners also on this panel. So it becomes difficult to give a lengthy vote of thanks after such an enlightening session, which was delivered by some very powerful and erudite speakers. Let me first start by thanking our chairman, Lieutenant General Sudhir Sharma, for conceptualizing this online event. He did this way back in late 2020. And here we are with an increasingly successful and larger MitKat annual risk symposium. So thank you, sir, for your stellar guidance and leadership of MitKat. You gave a very insightful and comprehensive coverage of the risks at a geopolitical level, especially highlighting what could positively impact India and what could be the pitfalls that could kind of tarnish the business image or the narrative against India. For example, you highlighted polarization and you highlighted our collective failure to manage the farmer protest. Now, you specifically mentioned optics. And if you see the kind of farmer protests in Germany, in France, in Canada, and of course, India, we find that it does great damage to national optics and the way the world looks at us. Now, this was followed by a very, very inspirational talk by the Honorable Deputy Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Vipul Singhal, who better to speak on leadership in a risk-prone environment through his own personal experiences and the immense responsibility of the nation's security that he shouldered. He came out with a very, very good three-step procedure of anticipating risk, preparing for risk, and leading through risk. Now, in a very disparate form, we discussed that within the industry, but in such a concise and a straight-talking manner, I don't think we could have gotten all these learnings. The general was also very, very I would say magnanimous in sharing his best reads with us. I hope everyone took snapshots of that particular slide, because as professionals, that is going to help us immensely. Then came Colonel Samrinder Mohan Kumar, the founder of MitKat and our managing director, who kicked off the panel 1, which particularly spoke about the India risk outlook for the year 2025. He was supported by an immensely experienced set of industry leaders and from various industries, ranging from financial services to IT, ITES, and of course, data centers. And as you all know that India is going to be the shining spot for data centers across the world. So in this particular panel, after Colonel Sam had elaborated on his idea of the emerging global security risks, we got to hear the perspectives of the industry leaders. We got some very fine insights, which basically I will summarize as geopolitical risks, supply chain risks, technology risks, and climate and environment, an increasingly important part of risks that companies are looking at very, very seriously. We got some very, very powerful one-liners that I have noted down from each of the speakers. We got to see their views on how geopolitics will lead to multipolarity, multipolarity leading to friction, and creating shifts in the way economies operate and businesses are done. It was very heartening and encouraging to hear Major General Vikram Singh on his ideas and guidance on how, as a profession in for data centers, what all is opening up. I could see the smiles on the almost 20 interns and my younger colleagues in my office here when he spoke about the emerging opportunities in the data center market. It was very enlightening to hear Sumit Sharma's very original work on the India risk outlook. I will not go through the entire thing, but what is really, really heartening to see the depth of analysis that chief security officers in respected companies are doing. I am very, very sure that his analysis and percolates in the form of learnings, not only within his organization but now through platforms like Mars to the larger security industry. We also got to hear the views of many other industry respected people like Saurav Chatterjee, Ajit, Shipra, and Rudra on their respective views on the top risks that India is likely to face, and the specific threat vectors from where those adverse impacts could potentially emerge from. Our second panel was moderated by Colonel Sushil, and this pertained to trends in intelligence, security, and loss prevention. This is where the discussion got, brought in the mechanics and the hands getting dirty, because he was also supported by some very, very experienced security practitioners who shared their views on the actual mechanics of security. We had a fairly diverse views on this because everyone's experiences can be quite different. We stressed a lot on insider threat as a, and what needs to be done about it. We talked about certain tools that are available to highlight suspicious activity in insider threats. We then moved on to, Colonel Atri and Rakesh Sharma and John Paul McAnum talking about their experiences with global security operation centers. Now, just as India has proven to be a great emerging market for GCCs, we are also a very business favorable and logical place for enhancing GSOCs, global security operation centers. And a lot has been said about what GSOCs need to do, what they need to focus on, the technology and the people aspects. So it was very, very enlightening, and personally too, because I have a fairly large team that is deployed in operating, several very sophisticated GSOCs, and my team is doing a wonderful job, and I'm happy to see a lot of them having participated as attendees in this particular session. Duty of care was spoken about by Major Findlay. Again, he has been very kind to us by gracing us with his presence throughout these years. We have been running this symposium. He spoke a lot about duty of care and the perspectives for security to expats, what they need to be sensitized on, what they need to be careful of, and how they can be supported so that they are not overwhelmed by the novelty of the place that they are operating in. Again, we also spoke about the perspective of the gig economy by Gaurav, and he stressed upon things such as the absence of regulation or regulatory risk that several other speakers have spoken about. Yes, the regulatory and compliance space is a increasingly challenging one. It is a very dynamic one, and in almost all parts of the world, regulations come out very, very frequently, and industry needs to play catch up because we all want to operate in a very as per law and be compliant. And that is one of the foremost responsibilities of any responsible corporate player. Going on, artificial intelligence has been highlighted, fortunately and very interestingly this time, as an opportunity. Last year, I remember when we were talking about artificial intelligence, there was some element of skepticism and concern that the negative impacts would surpass the positive ones. But it was so heartening to see everyone speaking so highly of the use of AI and the opportunities it unravels especially in the security industry. The panel 3 was especially interesting because I felt that, had there been a few more minutes that Pawan would have given, the repartee was very, very interesting. This was that one panel which brought entrepreneurs, founders, and very solid practitioners on the same platform to talk about technologies, trends, opportunities, and risks emanating therefrom. Again, it was a wonderful panel, very superbly explained, by all the speakers. Suraj brought out his the desired wish list that brought a smile and a serious look at the same time to Kundan and Akshay, who took it up as a challenge to provide each of the wish list. God's eye is a new phrase that we all have learned, and yes, the security industry will always try to achieve that particular God's eye in order to keep our organizations and peoples and assets safe and secure. So all in all, I think it has been a wonderful session, very, very deep in insights, very, very superior in quality of learnings that have been shared. And it has been great on magnanimity by each one of all our speakers to share their wealth of knowledge and experience. I can see that this is going to be one of the most motivational sessions for any younger colleague in the security industry or anyone who desires to join this security industry. All you need to know is that the opportunities are going to be immense, and risks are not only to have a negative connotation. There are several and innumerable positives that can emanate from that. So once again, from the bottom of our hearts and on MitKat's behalf, I would like to thank each one of you for your participation, your time, your magnanimity of sharing knowledge, and the level of discussion that were also happening on the chat box. So thank you so much, and God bless, and we will only hope to hear and see better and better things happening with each one of our participants and panelists. So on that note, I would like to hand over back to Aishwarya to moderate the rest of the overall session. Back to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you, Sandeep sir. The panelists, General Sharma, General Shingle, all of you in the audience for your outstanding participation and engagement at MitKat's first event of the year. Before we part, APAC Mars 2025 is scheduled for 23rd January. Save the date and please follow us on LinkedIn and other social media channels to stay updated. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Well done, Ash.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Productive day.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
everyone.